Three, two, one. All right, let's pop off. What up, folks? It is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We got new poll numbers coming in. This is from the, I believe it was not the Heritage Foundation. We don't want to say that. I didn't write down the actual location because I hadn't memorized it all damn day. But before we get into where the numbers came from, I'll just go ahead and give you the actual numbers themselves. And that is, the polls are now beginning to become more and more clear now that we are exactly 2 weeks out from the presidential debate, obviously featuring Joe Biden and and better yet, Donald Trump. So here are the presidential poll numbers. Moo, the tuxedo cat. Wow, thank you for the graphic. Moo, start the day out right. Here's the presidential forecast that we are hearing. And we'll go into whether you think it's a bunch of BS or you think it's accurate. Novocaine, yeah! Thank you for the hat mustache. Got your boy looking real Hispanic. Listen to this, because this could be something to yell in excitement for, or something to feel very dismal and dark about. Presidential forecast. Right now, 2 weeks out since the debate, DJ Julio shot your boy out with the galaxy. Wow, you guys are kind today. Thank you. Trump, 56% chance. Right now, they're estimating. This is the new polls 2 weeks after the debate. 56% chance. 56 to 58%, by the way. 56 to 58% chance that Trump will win in November. Right now. Understand, this is not, these are dynamic numbers. They're not static. They're going to be changing depending on what the hell's going on. There's a second debate. Biden spends more time on television. Maybe Trump says something crazy. All of that could affect the numbers. But right now, Trump, 56 to 58% chance of winning in November. But that is not all. The chance of the Democratic, or better yet, the Republican Party maintaining its control of Congress, 62% chance. 62% chance that the Republicans, not Democrats, there are no good numbers here for the Democratic Party. No good numbers at all. 62% chance the Republicans will maintain control of Congress. Now, the Democrats are in control of the Senate. However, a whopping 79 to 82% chance that the Republicans will flip the Senate. Wow. These are the numbers that have began coming in. I've picked them from different sites. It's not good. Jokes over everything. Thank you for the graphic. The numbers are not good at all. And I see in the comments on YouTube, Scott Reynolds says, I'll never vote for a dictator Trump. Well, you might not be in the midst of a lot of company because it seems like the numbers are really going favorable for Trump. So we will be asking how you folks feel about the polls. Do you think this is a bunch of bullshit, or do you believe that Biden's performance a couple weeks ago has indeed hurt his chances and a lot of the down ballot politician chances for winning as well? So those are the way the numbers are coming out right now. And by the way, things have gotten significantly worse. These numbers were not like this before that debate. Also, want to talk about what I know my beloved Maga do not like to hear. Project 2025. We're going to be talking about that as well today. One of the vice presidential hopefuls, Marco Rubio of Florida, Senator Marco Rubio, says in regards to Project 2025, just referred to it as a think tank. Think tank does think tank stuff. I believe that's his quote. And he says they often come up with ideas. Here's what I want to ask you folks. With so much radical propositions featured in Project 2025, a 900 plus page document, why is there no Republican outrage for this? We've heard of defund the police. You heard Obama talking about spreading the wealth around. Beto O'Rourke talking about taking away guns. Black Lives Matter, fry them like a bacon or whatever, talking about the taking lives of officers and things like that. Why is there no Republican outrage? There's some pretty dark stuff amongst the hopefuls of Project 2025. They want to end the Department of Education and Commerce. Where the hell, or why would they want to do that? They want to outlaw and criminalize porn. Damn, that would suck. And they want to also go after any technical outlet. Let's say, obviously Pornhub or any type of social media site that gives the citizens access to porn. They want to shut those down too. That's in Project 2025. Use the military on protesters. Sound like Tiananmen Square to me. They also want to speed up the execution process. Something you hear all the time. If this individual is so heinous and committed such an awful crime, why does he get 15, 20 years before he's put to death? That's in there. And we understand a lot of folks often are placed on death row wrongfully. There have been people who have been completely exonerated off of death row. So if you speed up the process, they're gone. You may find out posthumously they were actually innocent. That's in there. And then, of course, we hear about it's not about banning abortion. It's about returning the rights to the state. Project 2025 wants a nationwide abortion ban. So what I want to ask is, where is the outcry on the right for how radical this stuff is? This is not some, fringe group that is in their garage talking crazy stuff. This stuff was authored by many folks who served in Washington under Trump's direction. These are folks who were established Republican politicians, already have work under their belt. There is virtually zero opposition, zero outrage coming from the right. Why is that? Is because Trump is stating he doesn't know anything about it. He even said some of it sounds ridiculous, but that's about it. That's about it. We heard everything from athletes taking a knee during the anthem. The right still are outraged about that. And the player that began that, Colin Kaepernick, been out of the NFL for years, and they're still outraged about that. This is far more radical than taking a knee during the anthem. And there's virtually no outrage. Why is that? Those are our two questions. You know how the program is. It's MAGA friendly, always has been, always will be. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You damn sure don't have to agree with the host. The program is never about telling you how you should think. It's all about hearing what you have to say. Tap the screen, 500 plus of you in here. Get your likes up to about 20,000. Going straight to the comment section. Someone says your audio is breaking. Let me know, folks, if you having some issues with the audio, I may have to reset the live on TikTok. Let me know, folks, on TikTok if you're having any issues hearing me. I see you're good. Okay, everybody else is saying it's good. So one person must be having issues with their equipment. All right, your audio is fine to me. So I'm asking that question. Why is there virtually no outrage coming from the right? Teddy Chaos, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate that. So looking in the comments, MAGA all the way, sir, says friends bot. Fair enough. That doesn't answer the question that was just asked. Why is there no outrage in regards to all of the heinous proposals in Project 2025? The fact that many of them served under the blessing of President Trump during his term. Yet, the only thing you can get is a little bit of distance and, distancing themselves from it by Trump, Rubio, and some of them other ones. But there's no outrage. This stuff is very, very anti-freedom. You're talking about us being a free country. You're talking about July 4th, Independence Day. This goes against all of that. No outrage. What say you? Going straight to the box. I see somebody said scare tactics. I don't know where to. Tell me how it equates to scare tactics. We'll go to the one and only Moo. Good afternoon.
What's up, man?
Hey, good afternoon.
Man? So the answer to your question is simple, my dude, right? Everybody thought that Trump was going to destroy the Republican Party. But he didn't destroy the Republican Party, my man. He reformed it in the image that he wants it to be with his followers. So the people that would oppose the far, far right fascist views, they're gone, man. They got expelled from the party. They're the rhinos you heard about, right? Yeah. They're the people that they abandoned, man. They did to their party what I'm actually trying to do to the Democrat Party, but in favor of real America First policies instead of a fascist movement. And I have to ask you at this point, have you been convinced yet that MAGA is a fascist movement? Because I've been saying this to you for a very, very long time, and it appears that a lot of the American public is playing catch up at this point when I've already realized what the fuck is going on.
Well, in regards to your question about MAGA being fascist or not, if this Project 2025, which looks all intents to be real, this certainly has a hell of a lot of fascism in it. I think most MAGA, when questioned, will say that, I don't agree with that, I'm not for it. But it certainly is coming from the leadership on that side. So there's no denying that.
Yeah. So right. So the reason you're not hearing any outrage is because this is what they want, right? That's why you're not hearing outrage, my dude. This is exactly the type of agenda a fascist movement has.
You think MAGA wants to outlaw and criminalize porn?
I think that they are in line with whatever Trump will tell them that they want, because they've been in line with whatever he wants since he came down the escalator, right? It's not about... So what MAGA is all about is they're not about improving the economy. They're not about any policy that'll help their own lives either, or yours. What they're in favor of is these social issues that make them feel good inside. That's what they've been the whole time. And again, I told you, this is why Trump is able to get the support that he has, right? Because they're not really interested in things that make the economy better, or would fix the border, or would actually do anything for any of you. What they're concerned with is their fascist agenda, social issues, my dude. That's enough for them.
What about the notion, because I've had many guests come on the program and say that people are for this stuff and they don't have the vision that it one day may apply to them. Is it possible that maybe folks are for some of this stuff thinking they'll never come and get me for you looking at porn, or it'll never hurt me until it's right up on
Sure,
them?
that's how the saying goes, right? First they came for these people and I didn't say anything. And then they came for these people and I didn't say anything. And then they came for me, and by the time that happened, there was no one left to speak up for me. That's how it works, my dude. That's how it always works.
Wow. I mean, I don't have anything to even push back and disagree with you on, because I am baffled why there is, what
I will say is I want to give a shout out to my girl AOC, man, for bringing articles of impeachment against Alito and Thomas, man, for their bribe money, right? Go AOC, man. Progressives once again score for the Democrat Party and do the things needed to be done to start ending the corruption in our government, right? And if MAGA, if you stand on your principles of being against elitists and being against corruption, you too would want those two justices impeached. But
I'll push back on that and say, if you're going to celebrate what AOC did, with these articles of impeachment. And by the way, H2O, appreciate that follow up on that subscription. Thank you. I'll say this: if you're going to give AOC credit for that, which we know is not going to go any damn where. It's very similar to...
That's not the point, though, right? That's not the point. The point is you're showing people you're willing to fight. You're showing people you're willing to fight. And this is the problem Democrats have had the whole time, man. The messaging, the ability to push, even if you don't win, my dude, right? Like, just like if you would have pushed a bill, or at least put a bill on the floor that would have codified Roe versus Wade. It's not whether it would have passed or not. It's that you're trying. You're trying for the American people. And if people see that you're trying, they're going to stand behind you.
Well, then, if that is true, that's why folks are standing behind Trump and MAGA. You talk about giving people credit for trying. They actually... Hold on. Hang on. Let me actually finish saying what I'm saying before you come in. They actually put the same articles of impeachment up against Mayorkas because he wasn't protecting our border. So you should give them credit for fighting and trying too then, right?
If you agree that he wasn't protecting our border, sure. But honestly, that's just hypocrisy, because neither side is truly trying to fix the border, right? Neither side is making any trade deals with South America to improve their economies so that people don't come here. Both sides are funding organizations that are donors, right? Donald Trump wanted to build the wall because all the companies that are supplying materials for the wall are his donors, right? And the reason you want to do drones is because the companies that make the drones are your donors, right? But you're not talking about actually fixing the economies of the people that are coming here. So both parties are extremely guilty of not protecting the border. So if you're going to go after one, you have to go after the other on that, which I'm willing to do, right? I'm always willing to go after the best solution possible. But you can't say the same about MAGA, my dude, right? So you obviously see that there are judges that are corrupt right now. And instead of saying, hey, I don't like elitists and I'm going to stand on my principles about this, you guys double down because they're your people, right? You don't actually care about the corruption. It's very obvious that these guys are indebted to donors and you guys don't give a shit. That's how it is.
But here, there's a few things I would respond with. First of all, in regards to you talking about both parties on the border, I would give Trump a different level in this. I do believe whether he would be successful or not, Trump by far is the first president that really is concerned with the southern border to the point of actually committing crimes damn near.
No, he's not. I just told you. The reason he wanted to build a wall is because the people providing materials for the wall are his donors, my dude. Trump doesn't have ideas, my friend, okay? People come to him and they offer him money to do things for them. And that's why he does the things he does. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem because Miriam Adelson and her husband gave him hundreds and millions of dollars. It's not because he cares about Jewish people. He did a tax cut for the rich because they gave him millions and millions of dollars in campaign contributions. The argument that he gave up his presidential salary is laughable because people are giving him millions and millions of dollars for political favors. And all of MAGA is okay with this. And they're totally okay with their justices being bribed.
But you also...
they don't give a shit about state officials.
But you also admit that the Democrats are doing the same damn thing, suggesting that Biden is in perfect cognitive health because they want their jobs.
I told you already that Biden can't do anything about Netanyahu because he took $11 million from AIPAC. But I will say this, Democrats come out with a whole lot more legislation that I agree with than the Republicans do. I agree with the CHIPS Act. I agree with the infrastructure bill. I agree with the ACA. I agree with Social Security. I agree with Medicare. Okay, so where are the bills that... So I agreed with Matt Gaetz and AOC.
You're a progressive. Of course you're going to agree with more bills. You're progressive. So that makes sense. You agree with more bills.
Is the quality of the bills and what they do, the good ones that actually affect America in any good type of way, are coming from the Democrats. They're not coming from the Republican side. I'm looking at policy here. The Democrats are releasing things like the CHIPS Act, the Build Back Better, the infrastructure bill, and Republicans are in Congress looking at wiener pics and reading sex novels and talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, right? So at least I get some kind of legislation that aligns with my ideals from the Democrat Party, which is why I side with them most of the time.
Okay, so then let me ask it to you this way. Let me ask you to you this way, because in the comments, Jay Rich on YouTube stated it's all about the children, because you're saying that Trump hasn't done anything. How about the fact that, hang on. How about the fact that cannot be denied at this point, that by Trump having Roe versus Wade rolled back, he's responsible for saving the lives of literally tens of thousands of children now?
Yeah, the mortality rates are going up in all the states that have put bans in place. So that data directly contradicts what you're saying. But second of all, what you're doing basically is you're using big government to come in and make people's medical decisions for them, right?
True.
That's a fascist thing, right? This is why I say MAGA is a fascist movement, right? Because what you're willing to do is when it's shit that you don't like. And keep in mind, guys, the only reason Donald Trump cares, Donald Trump doesn't care about children. He doesn't care about abortion. What he does care about is how green the evangelical groups are that are giving him donations for his campaign. That's the only reason he mentions abortion whatsoever. This dude doesn't care about kids at all, because what he said about the children in Palestine was finish them, okay? Yeah. So if you don't have consistency for children all over the world, you don't have consistency for children, period. The reason you guys mention the issues you do is because Donald Trump receives specific monies from different private interest groups, and then he tells you guys what to think, and then you execute on that. You're stooges for an elitist and a lobbyist who used to bribe your politicians to make laws in his favor, and you cut out the politician, you threw in the lobbyist, and you all stand behind an elitist, and that's what happened.
So is it safe to say I won't see you wearing a MAGA hat anytime soon?
No, I'll wipe my ass with it.
All right, Moo. I'll just leave it at that. Appreciate you coming on. Thank you as always.
Have a good one.
You
Man.
too. Wow. And Moo is progressive. Understand that. And like I said, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone based on their political affiliation. He's admittedly progressive, so a lot of my audience may agree or disagree with him. I mean, obviously, progressive is considered far left, like we get far right viewers. So further you go in either direction, the more controversial some of your statements are going to be. However, I do agree with him on a lot of the fact that corporate money in politics has its consequences, because the corporations don't generally want what's best for the people. They want what's best for the corporations and their bottom line, which is usually against what you and I may benefit from. So that is part of the progressive mindset that I do tend to agree with. I mean, at the end of the day, we're a capitalist society, and if everything's based on making money, the people who don't have much money are not going to do very well. Nevertheless, tap the screen. 700 plus of you in here. Get the likes up to about 30,000. As always, let your thumbs not be lazy on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. Get it on up to about 50. We can certainly make that happen. This guy's like the crazy guy stringing newspapers together, acting like there's a huge conspiracy. Craig, I don't know. I'm assuming you're talking about my last guest, but perhaps me. Fair enough. We need to go back to conservative versus liberal conversation. The sooner we dump this MAGA nonsense, the better. Interesting. That came from one free thinker. Well, here's the problem. If you're suggesting we need to go back to conservative versus MAGA, and better yet, conservative versus liberal, and dump MAGA. Most conservatives are now supporting MAGA, actively favoring MAGA over traditional conservative values. So I don't know if we're going to go back to that anytime soon. Now, it may not be called MAGA. By the way, I've already stated that I strongly believe MAGA is just a rebranding of the Tea Party. Very, very similar views. I mean, most likely, if you're okay with MAGA today, you would have probably been okay with the views of the Tea Party during the Obama presidency. Very, very similar views. So it's no different than if you get rid of Black Lives Matter, or you go back, you had Hands Up, Don't Shoot, or what was it called? I Can't Breathe. The movement is still there. As long as people believe they're not being heard, they're being disenfranchised, it's going to be there until it's properly addressed. You can call it any damn thing you want. This is why I often push back with folks who say, well, Black Lives Matter is a fraud, it's corrupt. Well, if you don't like what they're fighting for, you probably didn't like Hands Up, Don't Shoot. You probably didn't like I Can't Breathe. You probably don't like LeBron James, Al Sharpton, Jesse. It's because you don't like the message. Same way with MAGA. If you don't like MAGA, you probably didn't like the Tea Party much either. Looking in the comments, though, Tea Party was the same. Yep. And I see that fake populism and focus on culture issues, says that one guy. All right, fair enough. Going to the box. Fortunately, you guys are tapping the screen, showing the program some appreciation. I do thank you for that. The one and only DJ Julio, a good follow-up. Julio is MAGA, right behind a progressive. We like to keep it open to all. Good afternoon, Julio. I'm assuming you heard a few things you disagree with already?
Well, listen, all I heard was hoppity blue blah.
He had points.
Listen, he's an educated person. I'm not gonna totally freaking degrade on Moo, but my God, I don't know who's been lying and blowing smoke up his ass, but shit.
Well, let me start out by saying what one of the topics of the show is about. Why is there so little Republican outrage in regards to Project 2025 that was literally authored by many that served with Trump in Washington?
Well, because we're not going to do anything with it. It is what it is. It's just on the books. It's never going to go anywhere.
The fact that it's in the hands of such high-level Republicans shows it's already going somewhere. They sat there and wrote a 900-page manifesto, for lack of a better term. What do you mean it's not going to go anywhere?
I don't think it'll go anywhere.
Alter ego, thank you. So, but based on what? I mean, just you kind of said the same thing about.
There's a lot of shit in there that's just not common sense, and there's a lot of stuff that isn't going to work for the country as we live in it.
Yeah, I don't.
It might be. It's never going to go anywhere. I read it. I read like 3 pages of it, and then I was like, "Fuck this thing."
I don't know, Julio, because they're talking about a national abortion ban in that, but we've already got the state. You know, it's already banned in many states, and you got several Republican leaders, including Trump, that have already come out and said an abortion ban could go national. So now it pops up in Project 2025, and we're supposed to believe that can never happen. That's all they've been talking about.
Oh, and I think that Trump, even during the debate, didn't necessarily say that. I think that he was saying he was going to leave it in the state's hands, that he believed in the circumstances, and that was about all he said about the abortion.
Yeah, that was yeah, during the debate he said that, but there is Trump in the past that has said an abortion ban could go national. He has said that.
Well, yeah, and I've said a lot of shit too, Tim, and you've changed my mind on a lot of things, and I don't want to give him too much credit, but Moo's opened my eyes to a few things. And, of course, Generation X, Gen X is always opening my eyes to something.
But I got to push back and ask, okay, you're saying there's no outrage because it's not going to happen. They're not going to do anything about it.
It's a non-issue for them.
Right, but why is it all of a sudden when the liberals come up with things have no likelihood of happening, like defund the police or taking away guns, suddenly there's outrage?
Well, okay, so it's similar to when you guys put up stuff that we have outrage, not you, Tim, but Democrats put up stuff that we are outraged about, and you're not outraged about it. It's that same flip of the coin. Just because we're not outraged about something, all the liberals and the Democrats are outraged, or the progressives are outraged about, doesn't really mean much to me. I mean,
so what you're saying is Maga in the Republican Party right now is playing politics.
Well, yeah, what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get back to a country that is actually a country.
I don't think Project 2025
that has equal trade, that has those things.
How can you suggest you want equal trade when you got folks like the Project 2025 talking about getting rid of the Department of Commerce?
You know what? Do you know what page that's on?
No, I don't know what page it's on, but I'm pretty sure you can easily Google it. I mean, you can download the whole damn document. If you type Department of Commerce, you can go right to it.
It took forever, and then after 3 pages, I got bored. I'm gonna Google and figure out where that's at. I didn't read that. I don't know nothing about it. I haven't heard nothing about the Department of Commerce.
I mean, I even made sure it's in my notes to bring it up. They talking about, obviously, the Department of Education is another one. Why do you think they would want to get rid of the Department of Education?
Because they're not doing their job either. Even in our state, our Department of Education sucks.
So what do you want to make sure every school is preaching Christianity, because that's where it seems like the right wants to go?
I don't have an issue with it. They I don't like the fact that if it's crammed down, I don't. But a little bit of education in that direction, I don't think is a horrible thing. I mean, shit, we talk about, African American history. We talk about Native American history.
They want to get rid of that.
What about the history of the church?
Well,
I don't go to church every Sunday. I'm not a Bible thumper. I do have faith. But at the same time, they're talking points. Honestly, in my opinion, keep all of that shit out. If you want to study that shit, study it in college.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, is they literally are now going to force children to read the Bible. Is that not anti-freedom in your opinion, forcing children to read religious documents whether they want to or not?
I mean, you're in America. I agree with what you're saying, but to play the other side of it, I like to throw the other aspect of perspective into it. You're in America. America is in some people's mind based on a lot of different things. Some say genocide, some say others. I can speak to it on the first part, but I'm not going to, because it's a long ass time ago. But basically based on Christianity,
which is also a long ass time ago. We were founded on Christianity.
Right. But that's one thing that's been consistent throughout the growth of America is Christian views, and take the whole book of the Bible out and let me read the 10 Commandments and let me live by that, and I'm okay, because that teaches respect and responsibility.
No, but I gotta disagree with you, Julio, in regards to the 10 Commandments being about morality and thou shalt have no other God before me is the first commandment. Why does a kid that's not religious, or maybe they're Muslim or they believe in Jehovah, why do they have to know that in school? Thou shalt have no other God before me. Where's the morality in that?
Again, I'm just saying it. They're doing that in Oklahoma because they feel, you know,
that's in Louisiana.
I thought they're doing it in Oklahoma.
No, Oklahoma's making them read the whole damn Bible. The Ten Commandments is in Louisiana.
That's what I was speaking to is Oklahoma. You know, it's apparently predominantly Christian. You know, they want that value in their children. They want that value in their society. They want that value in that state. Who am I to say that you can't teach what our country was based on anyway? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to say those things, does it, Tim?
Well, I gotta vehemently disagree. If I have a child and I want my child to be given the opportunity to wait till they're an adult to decide what God they want to serve, how do you get to force one particular religion, one particular documents that are from one religion on my kid? I mean, maybe he wants to make a choice. Let him read some pamphlets from Muslims, or from Buddha or whatever. I mean, I'm not very religious, but why force one religion on my kid?
I'm glad you said that. And again, like I said, I'm not for this. I'm more your side of this, but for devil's advocate purposes. When I go to a different country, let's say I'm in Saudi Arabia and I'm going to school there, are they not going to teach me how to about the Quran?
Yeah, but
if
you
I
do
go
realize Saudi Arabia,
places in the world, and I live and I decide to be a part of their country, I'm going to eventually have to learn about their deity, whatever it may be.
Wait, but you do realize Saudi Arabia is a far-right country. Are you patterning, out of all of the countries on the planet you could pick, you want to pattern America after Saudi Arabia? What's next? You want women to wear burqas?
What's the burqa? Is that the thing that covers their face?
Yeah, you can't see shit. They believe that it would make...
That's false advertising all the way. I don't like that.
Well, it ain't gonna be... Hold on.
Perspective into it.
It ain't gonna be false advertising, because the whole purpose of far-right environments making women wear covered up is so that you as a man won't get horny and want to take somebody else's wife. That's part of the Ten Commandments too, by the way, about thou shalt not covet somebody else's woman. That's what they're trying to do, is they cover her up completely so she don't turn you on. And they also view women that don't have a mate as less than, which is also in Project 2025, where they're going to ostracize women who are single.
Because of I brought up Saudi Arabia because the first book that popped in my head was the Quran.
You brought up a far-right country, and they have a lot in common with what's in Project 2025.
But the point that I'm trying to make, without deflecting into what each individual part of the statement makes, is if I go to a different country, I'm going to be forced to learn. If I'm a child, my parents move there, I'm going to be forced to learn about that country's deity, that country's God.
I disagree.
God or gods.
I disagree. If you move to Australia, they don't force you to learn about religion. Most free countries don't. The reason why you brought up Saudi Arabia, most free countries don't force religion on your kid.
Yeah, and again, like I said, I don't think you should, but my assumption is if I'm going to somebody else's country, I'm going to end up learning about that somebody's God. When you come to America, you're not coming to America to be a Hindu American. You're not coming to be an African American. You're coming to be an American. You're coming to reap the benefits of what Americans have created over the last 100 years.
To me, what you're saying...
So what I'm getting at is to make a fuss over Christian values being taught in an American school where Christianity is an American thing. I think it's what's the damn word I'm looking for? It doesn't make sense to me. That's.
Okay, man. I don't get why it doesn't make sense. Let me say this though, because Gen X, what your buddy Gen X on YouTube says, but forcing kids to learn about degenerates is okay. I don't know, what is a degenerate. what is
I think he's talking about that LGBT stuff.
Well, but at least LGBT issues are right in front of you. I mean, a lot of Christianity, you can't even prove it's real.
No, and when I said I'm not religious, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I am faithful. I was raised in Christianity. I was raised that way, and I found out over time that the Bible was written by men. Men are fallible. Men are greedy. Men are deceiving when they're writing their books. I mean, what makes me think that King George III or whatever he was back in the day didn't tell his freaking master of the church to, hey, put this in that Bible you're making?
Right.
I don't fucking know. I don't know. I can't prove it. But what I can prove is that we're all here. We're all breathing. It's weird the way it works. So there's got to be a creator, right?
I hear what you're saying, Julio. And
Christianity is the basis of America, the basis religion of America. Don't plan to come and learn Hindu. Don't come and plan to learn the Quran.
What happened to freedom? What happened to freedom? Now all of a sudden you got to learn Christianity. And by the way, Gen X said he'd rather have his kid in Bible study than tranny story hour. Damn. Gen X can always be expected to say some wild shit. Tranny story hour. So he was talking about what you're talking about. But if America's a free country, while you're forcing religion on kids, I think that kind of takes away the freedom.
Yeah, it does. It does take away the freedom of religion, and I don't disagree with Gen Xer. I would much rather live in.
Yeah.
I'd much rather live in a world where they put, Bibles in the school rather than, 3 different bathrooms to fit whoever wants to feel a certain way today.
Right. I don't disagree with that, but my counter would be I would much rather live in a world where I had a choice if I wanted to deal with any of it at all. I don't think forcing children to learn about Christianity, I don't see how that's any better than forcing them to learn about LGBT issues. I mean, if you don't want things shoved down your child's throat, it shouldn't be okay when it's suddenly something you like.
Yeah, and stepping back out of the devil's advocate role, I agree with you. And it's the same thing with Native American history and Black History Month and all of this crap that we shove down our kids' throat to remind them how shitty the past was. Let them learn that shit in extracurricular school, college.
So you don't want to teach, so you're throwing Black History Month in there. So what, you don't want to teach them about the revolution or how we separated from the English?
I don't want to teach our kids anything except for what they need to learn to be upstanding citizens. If they want to learn about those things, they can learn about them in their last years or in their college years, in my opinion. I think that's where.
So you're going to get rid of history entirely?
Make it extracurricular, yeah. We're not gaining anything, Tim. We're not gaining anything by throwing all this negative down my throat. My daughters, when they were in elementary school and learning about this shit, come home crying.
It's bad.
Now they're grown with freaking anxiety.
Listen.
I'm like, that's why I dropped out of school and decided to be a man and get a job.
History wouldn't make your kid cry if America didn't do so much heinous shit. I gotta move it on, Julio. You know what I gotta do.
I know, I pissed you off on that one. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
You never pissed me off. I enjoy talking to you, man, but damn, getting rid of history.
Listen, a lot of it makes sense to be in there. Some of it makes sense to be in there, but to really, throw all this ugly at these kids as they're in their impressionable ages, all you're doing is gearing these children to a certain direction.
Wow. I cannot
become smart.
I don't think you've ever said anything that I disagree with more than getting rid of history, man. I gotta move it on. I have gotta move it on. Julio, we can certainly talk about this again anytime. Appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. I'll be here. I'm gonna ask you again.
All right. Getting rid of history. Now, I will say this. I think some of that's in Project 2025, by the way, as well. Fact is, history in America, and it's not just America, other countries have a pretty dark-ass history as well. But fact is, in America, a lot of folks believe if you tell our children history accurately, it's somehow going to embarrass them or make them look bad. You can take it any way you want, but listen, if you're white, for instance, you don't have anything to do with slavery. You didn't own any slaves, but you shouldn't be able to tell the kid they don't get to learn about it. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, so I'm not a fan of getting rid of history. Red Akuma King says Project 2025 equals The Handmaid's Tale. Damn, for you folks who have seen The Handmaid's Tale, I mean, there's a scene in there where they got the woman laying down and the guy's mating with her. I'm like, is this how that works? She has no choice in the matter at all. Wow. Handmaid's Tale. That's some strong stuff. But I see a few people in the comments actually agree with that. But in regards to omitting history, and I'll go back to the box, omitting history because, as he pointed out, my kid came home crying. I'm just going to say, just like they said about don't do the crime if you don't have the time, you don't want to do the time. Kids wouldn't come home crying if your grandfather didn't do what he did. I mean, fact is, if I had a relative, maybe a grandfather, great-grandfather, or a distant relative that had a history of abusing children, something he actually did, I probably wouldn't be comfortable with folks telling the story of what he did and tying it to me as that person being a relative of mine. Yeah, I might be a little bit but I mean, fact is, it's history. It happened. And in this country, we know a large portion of people were mistreating others, or at the very least benefiting from it. But I don't believe it does the country any favor by trying to limit how many children know about it or anything like that. And I'll tell you why I disagree with it. If you don't teach history accurately, somebody's going to fill in the blanks and teach it inaccurately. So I do believe you should teach history, because otherwise somebody else is going to start making up other stories. Civil War was not about slavery, or America was discovered, by some dude named Columbus, as if nobody was here. People are going to make up history whether you teach it or not. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get the likes on up to about 45,000. Spiritually enlightened. Love that name. His name is Handsome Liver. That is true, Barb Clark. They still happening today, man. It still happens today. Yeah, it happens every day. I don't disagree with that. Good thing no one is limiting history then. Fair enough. I don't know what happened with my last guest. We'll give the box a chance to come through. Otherwise, I will move the program on. We're asking a question. Talking about the fact that the presidential numbers have come in 2 weeks after the debate. Here's what we're looking at. According to the numbers, Trump has a 56% chance of winning in November. He has a 62% chance of being in control of Congress, so that they will maintain control of Congress. Republicans have control of Congress right now. There's a 62% chance they will maintain control of Congress. Now, the Democrats are in control of Senate. There is a 79 to 82% chance that the Republicans may flip the Senate, so that when Trump gets elected, he has control of both the House, Senate, and some would say the Supreme Court as well. Spiritually enlightened. Good afternoon.
What's going on, brother? How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. Do you believe these poll numbers are accurate or just out in space?
The poll numbers that are going on right now, well, I do believe that a lot of them are inaccurate, especially as a third-party supporter. I don't go for Trump nor Biden because I have been seeing RFK hit 15 to 19% on 4 different national polls, and these basic mainstream ones are saying he's at 5, he's at 1.8, and some of them are only saying that he's on 5 state ballots or 9.
So is it safe?
Actually on 27.
Is it safe to
there's a lot of misconstrued.
Is it safe to assume you're voting for RFK?
No. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah. No, I'm voting for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because I'm tired of this 2-party duopoly system, and I'm unfortunately I'm not going to be listening to all this misconstrued information about him as well, like him eating a dog, which it was actually a goat. There's just so much BS.
I don't know if that makes it sound any better. Go ahead.
No. Oh, I'm sorry, brother. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you. No, I just think it doesn't sound any better, but he was in a different country, and eating goats in a different country is normal. I wouldn't mind trying to goat.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you don't favor Trump or Biden, just briefly, give me your reason why you don't see either Trump nor Biden as a decent option for president.
Well, first of all, starting with Trump, he kept lying and saying that he was going to drain the deep state and all that stuff. But then he appointed John Bolton to the NSA, which is one of the worst corporate lobbyist there is, and Scott Gottlieb, and you know, he also ran up $8 trillion in national debt, and he's always saying he's the best, everybody's wrong, and it's super annoying. He doesn't take responsibility for the things he's done wrong. Biden's been walling in controlled Washington for over 50 years, and you know, he had to get helped down 2 stairs by his wife at the after the debate. So it's like, you know, he's not. Yeah, you know, it's insane to me that people even have this conversation. Like, we definitely need to be looking elsewhere. People keep saying Kennedy is a vote for Biden, is a vote for Trump, whenever, you know, he's actually pulling more votes from Trump than Biden, even though Biden's more of a spoiler than Kennedy, because Biden's right now just the one losing, and, you know, they're just the presumptive nominees, Kennedy. I mean,
so who did you vote for?
Trump. They're not even on any state ballots.
Who did you vote for in 2020?
I definitely did not participate because, you know, I'm on the younger side. I'm in my 20s. Just turned 18 that year whenever all that shit was going on. But I've been paying close attention to political stuff ever since I was about 14 years old, because I knew, you know, it's the future of our country and the generations at stake here if we don't actually care and, you know, become empowered with our country. So
what would you do if RFK was not in the race? What would you do?
See, that's the unfortunate thing. I'd probably still vote third party, maybe like the Libertarian, not really for Trump nor Biden, because, you know, we are just given the 2 recycled trash can option. There's been studies already done where like 70% of America definitely do not want to pick these 2. But, you know, a lot of people are voting out of fear and vitriol and polarization and demonization instead of hope and inspiration, which I'm deciding to vote out of.
Let me see if I can. Okay. Let me see if I can clear some things up. First of all, how do you feel about? Give me some, because I'm gonna ask you a series of questions. Give me some brief answers. How do you feel about the Second Amendment?
Oh, I love the Second Amendment. I mean, I live in Texas. You know, my grandfather, he was part of the NRA.
What do you think of fair enough. What do you think about a woman's right to choose?
I think every woman should have the right to bodily autonomy as long as it's not full term. I do think that they should have the right to bodily autonomy. That's why I go for Kennedy.
Oh, up to what point? You said not full term, so up to what point?
Yeah, so basically, essentially going back to like how Roe v. Wade was, where if the baby is not viable outside of the womb, then, you know, therefore that's okay. But if it's viable outside the womb, then it's not okay. So that's the same concept with like Roe v. Wade, essentially.
Okay, so that could be up to about 5 months, I suppose. About 5 months, they can make a baby survive. So you would have some limitation on abortion for sure then.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely don't want to, you know, we want to basically go back to like the Roe v. Wade days, because that's what a lot of the women want. They want their Roe v. Wade back, and like that's essentially what Roe v. Wade protected against. Like, you know, as long as the baby wasn't like viable outside the womb, then, you know, it's essentially okay.
What about the border?
The border, I definitely think that we need to address the humanitarian crisis at the border, because it's not only like a border issue. There's also people being like trafficked and desolation by, you know, a multi-billion-dollar cartel industry. But we definitely need to put more judges, border patrol agents, and everything like that. And, you know, we definitely need to do something about the border for sure. And
what do you think about?
Continue to vote for this guy I'm voting for.
What do you think about the Ukrainian-Russian war? Do you think we're doing the right thing by helping Ukraine?
Absolutely not. You know, like one of our founding fathers once said, John Quincy Adams, America go not abroad in search of monsters to destroy. It's not our job to police the world. We shouldn't be funding all these endless proxy wars, all these bombing campaigns, you know, covert operation coups, paramilitaries. We should be focusing on America, focusing on our economy, because we have people literally deteriorating on the side of the street, people who can't even find jobs, people who are getting paid like super, super low, can't even make a life. Young adults, you know, my age, can't even buy a home.
How do you feel about
their hands on $1,000?
How do you feel about Biden suggesting he wanted to give? How do you feel about Biden suggesting he wanted to give some Americans tuition loan forgiveness?
Give tuition loans to who? I'm sorry.
Forgiving tuition loans.
Well, I think that's all fine and dandy whenever you look at it like at first, but when you think about it, where does all the money come from? Essentially, they just keep pulling all the taxpayers' money and using it for their own, like we're gonna make ourselves look good, but really we're not even like. Everybody else is just you're just paying for your own loans.
Okay. Let me just say this. I was going to ask you a few other questions, but spiritually enlightened, listening to your answers, your vote for Kennedy is taking away a vote for Trump. Every answer you gave me, you're pro Second Amendment. You certainly believe that the border is not being secured properly. You want at least some limits on abortion. You don't want to help the Ukraine out at all. That's a Trump tenant. And now you're talking about who's going to pay for it when it comes to tuition law. I mean, you should be voting for Trump. Everything you talked about favors a Trump supporter.
Well, the reason why I'm not really going for Trump is because he feeds, both Biden and Trump feed into the military-industrial complex, and I'm not like free Palestine or free all this. I think Israel and Palestine need to work that shit out amongst themselves. Honestly, I don't think that we need to be funding them infinitely. That's why I go for Kennedy, because he's anti-war, anti-military industrial complex. He does want to keep them as an ally, but doesn't want to infinitely fund them. Like, for example, why can't we have a Iron Dome? Is like, you know what I mean? There's just a lot of things, they're still just going to feed into the military industrial complex. And Trump did appoint a bunch of corporate lobbyists, and he promised not to do that, and he still did it. And the whole, like, both of them allowing Fauci to lie to the American people and impose totalitarian medical mandations and allow 3.4 million businesses to close down without due process and just compensation, which is super unconstitutional. It's just, there's a lot that makes me
fair enough. I just wanted to
both of them in
general. All right. So Kennedy is your man. I got to move it on. Spiritually enlightened. Do I appreciate? Is that first time talking?
Yeah, absolutely, brother. You have a wonderful day.
Come on back anytime, man. I do appreciate you coming through. All right, moving the program on. I will say this.
Absolutely, brother. I'm gonna follow you.
Thank you. I will say this based on his answers. I think it kind of explains why a lot of Democrats, because if you can have the mindset of my last caller and vote for Kennedy and see Kennedy as your candidate of choice, that should explain to you why a lot of Democrats don't favor Kennedy. Just want to point that out. You listen to my last caller, he overwhelmingly thinks Kennedy is a better choice than Trump and Biden. You hear his politics. His politics doesn't coincide with any Democrat I know. I've never heard a Democrat talking like that. So the fact that he believes that and he's voting for Kennedy, while Kennedy was originally running as a Democrat, shows that Kennedy's Democratic claims obviously don't make a lot of sense. Something in there doesn't fit right, because no Democrat, no left-winger that I know have the same mindset that he's talking about. Now, the corporate money and things like that, I think everybody complains about that. You heard Moo mention it. I think everybody out there wants money out of politics. But I don't know if they actually really wanted it. They're just saying that shit. But most of his politics, though, certainly aligned farther to the right than anything that I've heard on the left. Anyhow, looking in the comments, by the way, tap the screen. Get the likes on up to about 55,000. We can certainly do that. Same on YouTube. Smash that like button. 100 on YouTube if possible. Certainly appreciate you folks. This is unrestrained. I'll leave it at that. But we don't block, ban, or censor anyone. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. We believe in letting everybody speak. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You don't have to agree with the host. It's all about free speech here. New ABC poll, Biden and Trump tied. I'd sure like to see that one. If Biden is tied with Trump, I'm not going to suggest the poll may not be accurate, but I will say this. If Biden and Trump are tied, that says a lot about Trump as well. Like, Trump should be way out ahead of Biden. Should be way out ahead of Biden, considering how many Democrats even believe that Biden is unfit for office in regards to his cognitive abilities. Trump should be literally, miles ahead of Biden. So, but he's not. He hasn't been most of the time this has been going on. So that says something about Trump to some degree as well. Best show on the internet, says Eric. Thank you. Man, man, like I keep saying, there's nothing better than I watch a lot of them. You're doing a great job. I appreciate that, Eric. Thank you for the accolade. Going back to the box, we'll go to Electric Wolf 45, one of my MAGA friends. Haven't talked to Wolf in a few days. Good afternoon, Electric Wolf. If the box brings him up, Trump wins, you not see democracy for the next 100 years. Wow. That's coming from Jamie in the comments that says if Trump wins, you won't see democracy for at least 100 years. Wow. That's an awful prediction. Awful prediction. Wow. Trump, well, at the end of the day, let's be real. Trump is, what is he, 78? He gets in office, he'll serve, if he does 4 years and doesn't try to extend it, as you guys are pointing out, he'll be in office from 78 to, 82? I mean, he's not Putin. He's not young. He's old to the point where I don't know if he's going to be around that long. But then again, you could hand it off to Don Jr. or Eric or somebody else. I get what you guys are trying to say, but that's strong. That's some strong stuff. How many of you folks believe that Trump is indeed trying to become a dictator, despite what he's saying? Yes or no? How many of you believe he's trying to become a dictator, despite his ongoing denials of it? Looking in the comments, vote policy, not feeling. Bird Dog, I will say this, and I see somebody said, hell no. There's a lot of yeses coming in. A lot of folks do believe Trump is trying to be a dictator. Yes, yes, and yes. Wow. In regards to vote policy, not feeling, I think that worked better during Trump's first term when he was sending out all kinds of insulting tweets and people like, fuck your feelings, vote based on what he's doing for the country as opposed to your feelings. But now we got Project 2025. We got abortion bans. We got Trump on record saying he wants to give police immunity from prosecution. When you say vote policies, not feelings, some of the policies are bad of President Trump now. It used to be Biden is the one that's giving us a poor economy, high gas prices, inflation, and all of that. Vote for Trump's policies, ignore the tweets, the name calling. Well, now he's promising bad policies in the eyes of a lot of Americans. So I will submit to you the idea that you should vote policy over feelings. I don't know if that applies anymore because Trump is making some bad policy promises. Looking in the comments, somebody says fake news. Trump promising to give police immunity from prosecution is on video. You can say it may not happen, which would mean that Trump's statement is fake news in itself. He's promising to do something he has no intention of doing, but he is on video saying he intends to give police immunity from prosecution. That's a bad policy. That ain't got nothing to do with emotion or fuck your feelings. That is a promise of a very, very bad policy coming from Trump. Going to the box. I will continue on with DMF. Good afternoon. I don't know what happened with the last caller, but we'll try it again with DMF. The box can be problematic. Tap the screen. Get me on up to about 65,000 on TikTok. Let your thumbs not be lazy. We'll see if DMF comes up. Immunity promised to all of them. I don't know what he meant by offering to give police immunity, but he damn sure did do it. And it's on video. It's undeniable. It's not only is it in audio, he's sitting there on stage or standing there on stage stating he wants to do that. Got nothing to do with feelings or any of that emotion. That's something that came out of his mouth. That is a bad policy, period. Looking in the comments, would not vote for Biden if his life depended on it. Damn, 100%. When he sent someone to bribe Africa. What? You're saying that President Biden sent somebody to bribe Africa? I'd sure like to know what you mean by that, but I mean, we just spent 20 years at war. We've been bribing every damn body. I mean, how many folks did the Taliban execute that took bribes from Americans, American GI, the CIA to interpret things to America? I mean, a lot of folks got killed taking bribes from Americans. So I mean, that's what we do. They held it from day one. We gave the Native Americans shit. We bribed them. I mean, that's what we kind of do. I'll vote for Biden in a coma before I vote for Trump. Wow. Surely there are no other viewers that would vote for Biden during an actual coma over Trump. Wow. I would vote for Biden even if he can't speak. Not even conscious. You'd vote for Biden. And oh my God, there's a few people in the comments saying, yes, I would do that too. Wow. Trump is really awful to some of you folks, huh? Goodness. Limited immunity for cops, says, well, that ain't what Trump has promised. He said immunity from prosecution. And by the way, Trump's quote is, they'll get their power and their respect back. That's a bad policy being promised by Trump. I feel we need Judge Dredd level police. Ooh. This is what, and I'll go back to the box again. I'm having trouble bringing up guests, but in regards to you folks who may be in favor of Trump promising to give police immunity, don't get caught up in all of the African Americans and minorities you see on television, fucking around with police, talking shit, maybe getting away with things they shouldn't get away with, and thinking that by giving police immunity, it'll take care of them and this will never come back to bite me in the ass. It will. I'll submit that to you. It absolutely will. There's a hell of a lot of law enforcement serving in areas where they have no interaction with anything other than white people. It will come back to bite you in the ass. I'm just going to tell you plain and simple. If you believe that, if you are tired of seeing African Americans or Hispanics getting away with crimes or getting away with disrespecting police, and your answer is to give the cops immunity, thinking that somehow, some way this will never affect me, good luck with that. Going back to the box, talk about what goes around comes around. Young Patriot, good afternoon. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen, getting it up towards about 65,000. Young Patriot, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Welcome.
Good.
Well, actually, you're welcoming me.
Okay, you got an echo.
Oh, my bad. One sec. Let me see if I switch to the mic I use on my phone, if that'll help. I'll be right back.
Yeah, you got a big echo. That is fascism, says Timothy. Yeah, I don't, giving police immunity, I don't see how anyone, and once again, just like with Project 2025, there's no outrage to President Trump saying that. And he has not even explained what he meant by it. No outrage at all.
Is there still an echo?
Let me see. Yeah, it's still there.
I have no idea why it's there then.
I think I can ask is you drop out and I'll try to bring you back up. I'll bring somebody else up and then come back to you. Because you got it. I mean, I can't talk. We'll be talking just to myself. Yeah, like that won't backfire. Yeah, giving police immunity is certainly going to backfire. Either on you or somebody you know. Because there's a hell of a lot of folks that have a badge that probably should not have a badge, where they're not out serving and protecting, but rather defending their ego. And the chance that you may encounter one does exist. I mean, would you want to get pulled over? I don't care what it's for. You don't have to be pulled over for doing anything wrong. You want to be pulled over by somebody that has immunity? Seriously? Even if you're law-abiding, maybe they just like how you look in that blouse. You just don't know. You don't know what the hell is on the mind of that cop when they pull you over. It got nothing to do with you being a criminal or not. So understand, you give them power, hoping that it will calm criminals down. What you're really doing is just literally switching who the criminals are. That's all you're doing. Yeah, it may make the citizens act right, but now you just switch the criminals over to law enforcement. Tim, I don't fully support your politics, but really enjoy your view. I can live with that. Trick, hip, trucker. Can't say that too many. Appreciate it. It's never about always agreeing. Damn it, I don't know all the answers, and none of you folks either. That's why we believe in civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, where we can hash it out. So understand that you don't have any issue with me having a disagreement. I'll bring you on anytime. Going back to the box, do what police ask, be no problems. Well, what if they ask you to do some shit that's outright illegal? What if they want to search your car and all you want to do is exercise your Fourth Amendment right, which protects you against unwarranted searches and seizures? If he has immunity, you think he's going to give a damn about your Fourth Amendment right? Maybe he is 100% certain you know the name or the whereabouts of somebody they're looking for. You think your right to free speech, your First Amendment right we're enjoying now, will mean a damn thing to him if he want to solve that case and get that information out of you? Immunity would involve all of this shit. All of this about this, it's amazing at how many folks will get on here and defend the hell out of the Second Amendment and sacrifice every other one in the Bill of Rights. It makes no damn sense at all. The Second Amendment is right before the third and fourth. Giving police immunity starts to take away some of those other Bill of Rights. Makes no sense. Going back to the box, I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. That Charles, good afternoon. Welcome to the program. If we can bring anyone up the box, it's really problematic today. Women and minorities of any sort will allow Trump to... Women and minorities of any sort will allow Trump to win in 2024. It's not just up to them. That Charles, good afternoon.
Tim. Hey, I've been watching you a long time, brother. I appreciate your show.
Thank you. Appreciate the compliment. Good to have you on. What am I getting wrong?
I talked to a cop today, and I don't know if he's right or wrong. I'm not pro-cop. I'm not anti-cop. I'm in between. I just want him to do the right thing.
I'm pro-cop, but I'm not I'm not pro-zero accountability.
But what he told me that immunity was, and like I said, I don't know. He said it's like if they're going to a call and they run over somebody, that they're working for the city then. And so they need some kind of immunity from that.
So if I'm in the street, let's say protesting police brutality, and I'm blocking the street, all they got to do is come up with a call that's behind me and they can run my ass over.
That's the loophole. That's the loophole. Just like the Bible got the loopholes, they got the loopholes.
Right.
But that's the way he explained it. They wanted immunity from that, which in turn, is going to let them have immunity for a lot of other stuff that not everybody's on board with.
Yeah, they already have immunity. I mean, even right now, if they're on a call, police get involved in accidents during car chases and things like that all the time. They don't go to prison for that. They already have that.
They're at work, so I can't really buy into what his theory was because I don't know what they mean by it,
Yeah, and that's
on the surface.
Yeah, go ahead.
On the surface, we read it like what it says. They can do what they want, get away with it. And I'm from New Orleans, so believe me, I know the cops.
Right.
I've dealt with cops,
Well, here's what I would ask law enforcement or anybody that wants to defend this. What do you mean by giving you immunity will give you your power and respect back? Because that's what Trump said. How does giving a cop immunity equate to people respecting them?
Well, he's the king of wordplay. He's the king. They all are great at it.
Yeah.
But he's the king at it. He's the master puppet at pulling strings.
Well, he's only the king of it. He's only the king of it until you start questioning what the hell are you talking about. And then it's like, well, let's change the subject and get the hell up off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree, like for instance in the comments, Kendra says all cops are not bad. I don't disagree with that. I don't think all of us on here, I don't think all of us on this forum are bad. But if somebody gave you immunity, I guarantee some of us will start doing some bad shit. It is what it is. If you knew you could rob a bank or assault somebody and get away with it, I guarantee some of us will turn into bad guys and gals.
My question is fair for this because the way you run your show I love it. How do them far lefts and how do them far rights, how do we come back in the middle here? Some of them are so far out they're falling off, both sides. How do we come back in between so that we can be a better place?
Doing things, the solution, in my opinion, I was gonna say the solution is simple, but it's not simple, but doing things like what I'm doing here, where you're not simply discarding somebody because they have an opinion that's completely different than what you have. Allowing people to speak, because if you stop free speech, or if you try to silence thought, what you do is you disenfranchise that group of people, and they just hate you. That's what's happening right now. Whether we're talking about Maga or Black Lives Matter or whatever. These people believe they're not being addressed. So the way you solve it, in my opinion, is to bring everybody together. State your case. I don't give a damn how you feel. State your case without fear of censorship, and we'll talk about it. That's how I believe it's done. Okay, my guest must have dropped out. Anyhow, moving on. Sometimes the box does that. Good talk, by the way. My echo might be gone now. I connected to headphones. All right, we'll try it again with Young Patriot. I don't see you in here, though. All right, well, come back in here. There we go. Good afternoon. Welcome back. Where is the loophole in the Bible? Please explain. What do you mean a loophole in the Bible? I don't know about that one. I'm selling an anti-corrosive lotion that presents burns from fire and acid. Wrong show. Young Patriot.
No echo?
No echo. We're in business.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, good. So I'm pretty young. I'm probably the youngest guest you've had on. I'm only 18. I've never voted in a general election yet. I voted in the primary.
Let me interrupt you and say this. I'll let you continue, but with a name like Young Patriot, I think I might know where you're leaning. Keep going.
Yeah. But I will say, although I haven't agreed with much of what you have said, I do respect
exactly.
You've been very respectful, and not everyone on either side is that way. So I appreciate that.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. So what did I give me some examples of what I said you don't agree with? Do you think Trump, when he offered to give police immunity, do you favor that?
Well, I haven't actually looked deep into that, but I will say if he straight up said complete immunity, that's nonsense. I don't agree with that at all.
Bro, he didn't say
that's something we could debate.
Okay, he didn't say complete immunity. His words were he wants to give police immunity from prosecution because it will give them their power and their respect back. That's the quote. That is exactly what he said. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think I would like to see him dive deeper into exactly what he means, but I don't think we should give police an unfair amount of immunity.
Right. And if he doesn't explain it?
Well, I'm still going to vote for him because of the fact that I agree with him on virtually every issue compared to Biden. Though in the primary, I did vote for him in the primary because it was between him and Nikki Haley. In the primary, he was not my top choice. I preferred DeSantis or even Vivek Ramaswamy. But that said, though, in the general, I don't think I really have much of an option. Maybe I shouldn't say it that way, but definitely that's who I agree with more, whether it's foreign policy, the economy, social issues.
So let me ask you this. In your opinion, because, I mean, you're a young voter, but I'm sure you've been paying attention because Trump is so, I want to say controversial, but he's entertaining. People watch Trump. What happened on January 6th, in your opinion?
Okay, January 6th, first of all, I do think is, I don't want to say a non-factor, but I don't think if someone is voting specifically because of January 6th, I think they might want to reconsider their outlook on the election. That said, what happened on January 6th, I think there was a extreme minority of people who got violent. There's no denying that. But the vast majority of those who were in attendance, even those who even got into the Capitol building, were not violent individuals. And we now have proof that, some of the Capitol Police were escorting them like it was a tour guide and they were on a field trip, So there was a lot of controversy going on in January 6th. I do think also, though, that anyone who thinks Trump incited violence, I would say I'm going to use the term, I don't know if you've heard this term before, I think that they are falling for a blue-anon conspiracy theory. Because, yeah. If you listen to Trump's words on January 6th, he said he wants people to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. So anyone who believes Trump, incited violence, they're wrong.
So you do realize the Capitol building was closed there that day. So the idea that people, because you talk about the police being on video letting people in, which is a fact, that is on video. Right. But you do realize other people were breaking in the building, right?
Correct. Yeah, I said there definitely were a minority of people who got unbelievably violent, and that's wrong.
Were those people Antifa or Black Lives Matter?
No, I think those people were a minority of Trump supporters that the minority of Trump supporters that were there that got violent. I'm not into anyone who believes that they were Antifa or BLM is also it's someone on the right partaking in a conspiracy theory. So I'll call out both sides for partaking in nonsense.
So any idea if you're admitting that Maga got violent on January 6th, only a minority, as you're saying, most of the crowd went home. I agree with that. But if that is true, what you're suggesting, any idea why Trump refers to January 6th as a good day and referred to it as a love fest?
Well, perhaps he's just specifically talking about the large rally that he had where I believe it was millions, like 3-4 million, I can't remember the exact number, amount of people who were in attendance. Maybe he's referring to the day of January 6th before the violence arose, but I don't fully know what he's referring to because he's also, spoke out immediately and said the violence is wrong. So I don't believe he's referring to the violence. I think that's a quote taken out of context. But if I were him, I wouldn't word stuff that way because it makes it easy for the media.
But he's saying, okay, he's saying that violence is wrong, but the people who were charged for violence, he's speaking favorably of them.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that. I don't believe that's exactly what he meant. But if I were him, I wouldn't word things that way. I think part of the media, like the whole Charlottesville thing, which has been debunked, the fact that Biden mentioned that at the debate is honestly kind of embarrassing. But I think part of it is his fault. Not that he's outright saying, what they're accusing him of saying, but it's like you make it easy for them to.
Yeah.
You're saying. Yeah. So I will say, and that's why Trump's not my top choice. I agree with a lot of his policies, but policy-wise, he's not my top choice either. He's not as conservative as DeSantis or Ramaswamy was. I mean, he's not. He's a populist. He's a right-leaning populist.
All right. And so I'm assuming you believe that all of the criminal issues he's going through are all witch hunts?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't believe he assaulted a woman or did any of that stuff?
No, but I don't believe that, but I also don't believe Biden did either.
What about Stormy Daniels? You think he hit that? He said he never touched it. You think he's telling the truth?
I don't know that he did. I don't know that he never had sex with her, but I don't believe, especially because she said years before that it was not SA, it was not a Me Too movement. That I don't think he assaulted her. I don't think he forced himself upon her.
Stormy Daniels is not accusing Trump of any sexual assault. She's just saying he hit it. He's saying he never had any sex with her at all. Do you believe that?
I don't know. I honestly don't care. It's not something that's going to impact how I vote, if I'm being honest.
Fair enough. All right. And I just want to get your take on it. You're a very young voter.
I will say one thing during the live. I think the first person you had on, he said something that I thought was insane. He said that he thought history in general needs to. We shouldn't be teaching history in general. I thought that was a wild take. Not only should history be taught, it should be taught in a both sides perspective. I don't think even though.
What do you mean? Wait. You said something controversial now. What is teaching history from a both sides perspective? Let's say you want to talk about slavery. What is the other side?
When we get to slavery. Okay. By teaching it both sides, I don't mean that we say these people were okay in arguing that slavery was okay. That's not what I'm saying.
It was legal. It was okay. It was legal.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. I meant in general when we're talking about all forms of history. I'm not talking about obviously like World War II when there was mass genocide of Jews. There's no both sides in that. It's wrong. You know what I mean?
Okay. I would submit to you that history there is no sides to history. It just happened. Tell people, if you start saying both sides, then yeah, you're trying to lighten the load for one side or maybe being harsh on the other side. Just tell people what happened. That's how.
Here's what I will say about the Civil War, though. I don't obviously. There's a good side, the North was. Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say a good side. I would say a better side, the North, versus obviously the side who was fighting for slavery, the South. So, but what I will say is, not every single person that was in the rebellion, not every single person who fought for the Confederacy, I don't think every person was inherently evil. Because a lot of these people, were just your average Joe people who just got told, we're in a war.
I agree with that 100%. I don't think every Nazi was evil. They didn't have a choice. They had to join and fight. But at the end of the day, the entire movement collectively was evil, and that's the same thing with the Confederate South. I mean, there are plenty.
100%.
Yeah, there were blacks in the Confederate South Army. They didn't have a choice.
Yeah, exactly. See, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I think a lot of them, I think obviously when it comes to the elected officials, the people who were fighting for slavery directly, they're all, we should look down at what they did as evil. But I was just saying not every person who fought for the Confederacy even probably fully had a complete knowledge of what they were fighting for. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, that's like saying everybody who represents ISIS or Al-Qaeda is not evil. Some people are just defending their homeland. I mean, that would be true. I mean, but nobody's going to talk that way. Let me ask you this, because in the comments, before I move it on, someone stated that all slave owners were evil. Do you agree with that?
I'm sorry, the mic got cut out right when you said, what did you say?
Someone in the comments stated that all slave owners were evil. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that in the sense that looking back at what they did is evil, correct? But I will say, if they're trying to end up turning this to that means our founders are all inherently evil, I agree that they're evil on today's standards, but on their standards, we have to keep into account it's a different time. So I don't think we should say that Thomas Jefferson, who by the way advocated against slavery, knew that he was wrong for owning slaves. I don't think we should say that because he owned slaves, we don't take into account the Declaration of Independence at all. But
let me just say this, because you make an interesting point. A lot of folks say, look, it was a different time back then. My response is this: if you were doing something, even in the 1700s, that you wouldn't want done to your family member or your child, it would make you go get a gun and shoot the person that's doing it to them, then it's wrong. Doesn't matter what area it is. If you don't want it done to your kid or your family member, but you're doing it to somebody else, I don't give a damn what time period it is. The fact that you would be outraged if it happened to one of your loved ones means you know it's wrong. Period.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else to it other than that.
Oh, I just wanted to elaborate because I thought someone on the person who said that might have been on the left. I didn't want them to, it might be, anti-founders. I didn't want them to throw it back in my face and say, oh, well, then you think Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, what they fought for doesn't matter. And that's not what I think.
I mean, I get your point, but if you're molesting a bunch of children, yet you're fighting for truth and justice, maybe you're a judge in a court or something, you're still fucking evil. I don't want to pick and choose what parts of your life is good. If you're committing a heinous act, you're evil. There's a lot of people that has done good in this world that were evil at the same time. Hell, Hitler created the Volkswagen. That don't mean you exclude all of the evil in his past.
I agree. I think any historical figure, including our founders, I think we should.
Okay, you're all right, young patriot. I gotta drop you because you're going in and out. Always welcome back. Good conversation. Don't worry that we disagree on a few things. Come on back anytime, man. All right, he's going in and out. By the way, it's really good to hear younger folks involved in politics. We don't always agree. Big dog, yeah. Thank you for the hat and mustache. I appreciate that. Yeah, I hear that on the program a lot. That folks will say, look, it was a different time back then and all of this. And, to some degree suggested that maybe they didn't know it was as wrong as we do now because we think differently. Which is why I brought up the point. If back during that time, the era of Thomas Jefferson or George Washington, you think they would have want that done to their children? If they found out that somebody was enslaved, they would be really, really willing to go out and get a gun and shoot that person. So they clearly knew what they were doing was wrong. So I don't want to make up an excuse to lead people to believe that, well, slavery was thought to be okay back in this era. If you don't want what you're doing to somebody else to be done to you, then you know it's wrong. It is as simple as that. You know it's wrong. Looking in the comments, though, we need to vote for good people at the local levels. I agree with that 100%. They're bringing Jim Crow is what they're doing. I haven't seen solid evidence of that. And I also will say this, one thing that really baffles me before I go back to the box and ask you guys to tap the screen on TikTok, get the likes up to about 85,000. There's been a decent amount of participation. I do appreciate that. Certainly on YouTube, smash that like button. 140 can happen if you show your boys some love. We are here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central, weekdays, 1,300 hours. If you do enjoy civilized dialogue from all sides of the aisle, you're in the right place. We are MAGA friendly. MAGA are my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. If you enjoy this type of dialogue, feel free to follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. Before I go back to the box, I'll say this. The Bible has not changed. Now, I'm not very religious now, but I grew up in the church quite a bit when I was young. Directed the choir, went to Bible school every summer, all of that. And here's something I've often found myself confused about. Because when I say the Bible has not changed, I mean literally the wording, at least since this country was founded, the wording in the Bible has been the exact same. Why am I bringing this up? Because the question is, how could a slave owner or somebody that was doing that stuff read from the same book we do today and think they're going to heaven? It's the same book. Yeah, it's a different era, but the text on the page is the same as it was then. And they were very religious back then, very religious. which is why I'm also a little bit hesitant when some folks say we need to bring religion back. How could they be reading from the same Bible that we do today and think that they were okay doing that stuff? And I see in the comments, Newton says it has changed. You're telling me the Bible from the 17 and 1800s has completely changed its meaning? I've never heard that. So there, we talk about the New and Old Testament. You're saying the Old Testament goes back. I've never heard of that. Okay, all right. I mean, really? I've never. That's the point I'm trying to make, folks. You're reading from the same Bible as we do today, and yet somehow you think you could be doing this to people, not only enslaving and oppressing them, but they're raping them. If you escape and try to seek freedom, you can murder the person. They were doing all that. And yet somehow you think you're getting into heaven, which is often why I say, well, hell, if they're in heaven, I don't know if I want to go. I really don't. They didn't do a lot of work. They talk about participation trophies and getting things you don't deserve. If he let them in heaven, why the hell am I trying to live a righteous life? They can do all that and get in? Well, shit. Hook your boy up. Going back to the box. Tap the screen. Get your boy on up to 90,000. We'll continue on with, I don't know what I'm looking at there. Smoke. I want all the smoke. We'll bring them up. I don't know what I just hit here. A lot of you folks holding on. I do appreciate that. Our one God, who is God of God. That's kind of complex to read. Only a personal relationship with Jesus and true repentance gets you to heaven, not good works alone. Well, I'm just telling you, then, if that's true, wouldn't that mean that most of a large portion of our ancestors are not there? I mean, a lot of people fought their entire lives to keep people down like that. I don't know. I mean, wouldn't it mean a lot of them are not in heaven? God help us all. Trump retires and wins his own golf tournament so the U.S. Open can worry about him. I wouldn't want to go to heaven, says Patrick. I was told it was a nice place to go to. Why wouldn't you want to go to heaven? And the box is frozen. I'm trying to bring up another guest. Are Democrats being hypocrites? On that short, I left a story. I'd read that story. By the way, the thing I was talking about in regards to are the Democrats being hypocrites while we're waiting for the box to reset. All the Democrats criticized Trump and the Republicans for January 6th, suggesting that January 6th shows that Trump is unfit to be president. However, June 27th, 2 weeks ago, the national debate, other folks are saying it shows that Biden is not fit to be president. So what I asked in the short that my viewer is referring to, and DJ Julio, yeah, thank you for the hat and mustache. What I'm asking is, does it make the Democrats look hypocritical that they are pointing to January 6th as Trump being unfit and literally ignoring June 27th, when there's a large portion of America that thinks that shows that Biden is unfit? Now, obviously, one event was violent and the other one was not. What happened on January 6th is a whole different type of action from June 27th, but we're talking just simply on the level of being unfit. That's what we're talking about. So are the Democrats being hypocritical on that? Somebody said he just had a bad night. Really? Before I go back to the box, let me just say this. I believe that both parties are lying to the American people. The Democrats are lying when they say Biden had a bad night. When you got folks like George Clooney taking out an op-ed in the New York Times saying, I was just with Biden, and I can tell you for a fact he ain't the Biden that I've come to know and love. Why would he lie? George Clooney hates Trump. Trump has already been on X today attacking George Clooney. So George Clooney ain't got no reason to go after Biden. No reason at all. He doesn't like Trump, and Trump has already went on X today attacking George Clooney. So clearly, there are plenty of legitimate Democrats that genuinely like Biden that are saying, look, I was around him, and he's not all there. So I submit to you, the Democrats are lying about President Biden. But I said both parties. This whole Project 2025 stuff that's floating around, I'll tell you one thing. In my humble opinion, the Republicans are lying about it. where they say they don't know nothing about it, or it's just a fringe group. Marco Rubio, who's better yet, a vice presidential hopeful, saying, look, it's a think tank, and think tanks sometimes create stuff. These folks actually got their job when Trump was in office by him appointing them. So these are members of your administration coming up with this stuff. You ain't heard nothing about none of this? People that you have had close relationships with? The head of the Heritage Foundation, where this is coming from, was on Steve Bannon's podcast. Steve Bannon is Trump's right-hand man. There are so many links between this Project 2025 and President Trump. There are so many links you think you were playing an old game of Cubert. So the idea that Trump doesn't know anything about this, like I said, both parties are lying to you. There's no way in hell all of these people are actually writing parts of Project 2025 that served on Trump's administration. And he don't know anything about this in existence. It just, Trump is very, very vigilant on what's going on. When Trump was in office, he'd be up to 3 o'clock in the morning watching the damn news. Athlete taking a knee, he's talking about it at the rally. Black Lives Matter sets fire to a police car, he's talking about that shit at a rally. All of the coverage on Project 2025 and he don't know nothing about it? Really? Look, we can actually favor Trump, criticize Biden. There are legitimate reasons to do that. But pretending like Trump don't know anything about Project 2025 is fucking ridiculous. That guy pays attention to what's going on in the news. He has considerably more stamina than President Biden. You have actual reports coming in on Fox News often where Trump will update his social media page in real time to correct the shit they're saying or criticize him on it. All of the coverage of Project 2025 and he ain't heard of it? And people believe that? Come on now. Come on, let's not be illogical. Maybe you don't want to get involved in Project 2025. We can debate that. But saying he really don't know nothing about it? It is all over the media? No way. Going back to the box, like I said, Trump pays attention to what's going on. I would believe that more if that was Biden. I would believe that with all of the folks saying Biden needs to step down, that he goes to bed so damn early, he ain't even watching the news and hearing all the stories being covered. Trump is watching the damn news. Trump knows what's going on. He could have said something else other than I really don't know nothing about it. That ain't believable. Going back to the box, Nate debates. Try it again. We're having trouble bringing people up. Trump doesn't have a decent bone in his body. Wow. Stardust. Really? God damn. Trump is all about TV. Yeah. I've heard Trump has had multiple news outlets on at the same time. And I've seen the comments. Big Boss says misinformation. What part is misinformation? I'm assuming you believe that Trump is unaware of one of the most covered stories right now. You believe that, huh? All right. Yo, Jesus, I know I've got the slave issue on my record, but wait a minute, this is probably funny. Yo, Jesus, I know I've got the slave issue on my record, but you know me, I have a personal relationship with you. Let me in. Hey, it might work. That might work. I'm having trouble bringing people up. I really am. And tap the screen. Certainly on TikTok, take your boy right on up over 100,000. We can certainly do that. Epstein files, I see that in there. I don't know how many times I heard you say Trump, says Xtina. Okay, you want to count them? I mean, why is it that if somebody who is not necessarily a supporter of Trump, let's say they say something about Trump, or they say something negative about Trump, or they criticize Trump, he's living rent-free in their head. They got Trump derangement syndrome. You know, this is what you generally hear from anybody who routinely criticizes Trump. But you can take your damn pickup truck and put Trump's face on the hood of it, put two big-ass Trump flags out the back, and nobody will ever tell you got Trump derangement syndrome. What I'm hearing is that Trump derangement syndrome is code for this person doesn't favor Trump. That's not, I mean, if people got Trump tattoos on their body, you'll never hear them referred to as having Trump derangement syndrome. And if that ain't deranged, I don't know what the hell is. Obama, third term must end, says J.B. Hall. You think Obama's still serving? Wow. In the Bible, it is called servitude, a 7-year agreement with a landlord. Slaves are considered a tool, not a servant. Can you please figure it out? Well, that would definitely lead me not to really be favorable to the Bible then. If I'm born to be a tool and the next man is born to be actually a free man, then I'm going to criticize God for making me born a tool. I mean, by the way, that tool was used for more than just work, rape, to make your bed at night, to nurse, to breastfeed your kids. If God made me to be that, I'm not going to be very happy with God. I'm just going to tell you that's how it is. I mean, that ain't due to any of my own misdeeds. That means I was born to literally be abused. Yeah, I'm having an issue with God on that. If the earth was the Titanic would have sunk before it left port. That's Titanic. I don't quite get the servitude based on an agreement, not birth. Yeah, slavery is servitude. You're right. Is based on an agreement. Slavery is based on birth. You don't have any choice in it. Let's just say that. Not necessarily based on birth, but as a slave, you don't have any choice in the matter. I'm trying to bring up guests, and I'm having a significant amount of trouble. We'll try another one here. Truth. See what happens. You guys are making me talk more than I want to. Truth is irony. Good afternoon.
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. So what do you think in regards to the poll numbers saying that Trump is literally kicking Biden's ass, may take control of both the House and Senate?
Well, in this time in 2020 and 2016, the polls were wrong. In 2016, Hillary was winning. 2020, Trump was winning. So I don't take the polls seriously till maybe October.
Wow. So what happens in October if the polls continue in this direction? What do you do at that point?
Well, if the polls are prove to be accurate, I think even up to a couple of weeks before the election with Hillary, she was supposed to win. So I mean, one thing you can't do is change your opinion based on the poll. So what I think what we need to do as Democrats is just point out, Joe Biden is not in great shape. We get it. He's an old guy. He ain't just turned old. He's been old. But the alternative is living in a communist country, a fascist country, wow, where we're under a dictatorship, and where the guy has already mentioned that he wants to give police total immunity. That Project 2025 is a nightmare for people of color and for veterans and for anyone who is not a white American.
Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, I know a lot of folks don't like hearing the race stuff, but really, if Project 2025 becomes a real reality, you want to be a white dude. I mean, just simple as that. You're better off being a white dude than anybody else. Even women, you want to be a white dude in some shit like that.
Yeah, because women are taken advantage of in that whatever you want to call it, manifesto, whatever it is. I think that I'm gonna give you something. I always come up whenever I get up here. I always tell you something that makes your ears perk, make your ears perk again. I believe MAGA is a hate group.
No,
I don't think
you're making them perk. You're right. A hate group, really?
Yep. I don't think they're a political party at all. I think they're a hate group. I think they're based. Their basic assumption to make America great again is a hateful statement. It is based on repeating history that was not favorable for a whole lot of people, and especially Black people and women.
I don't know. I mean,
and people in the LGBTQ that society. So
let me just say this. I don't know if I submit to that, but I will say, if someone says that MAGA is trying to take us back, I think there is enough evidence to suggest, but I don't know if we're saying back to Jim Crow or back to slavery or back to oppression, but you're putting Christianity in schools, you're getting rid of Roe v. Wade. These are things we've all had in the past. So they're not progressing us to some new era. They are, the LGBT situation. I mean, there was a time when they were ostracized in this country. So there is clear evidence that whatever the goal is, it is to take us to something that we had in the past, to something, even the nuclear family, all of that. It's all stuff that we had before. And so it does seem like the goal is to do something from the past.
It was stuff that we had before that we got rid of because we knew that it wasn't right. It wasn't something that a civilized society would include in their society. And people forget, in the 60s, when the Civil Rights Movement and, Civil Rights Bill, Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, Fair Housing Act, when all of that stuff was passed, it wasn't passed because of American black people and whites included that were protesting. That wasn't why it was actually passed. What happened was America, during the Birmingham, Alabama situation, where the police chief brought out hoses on children and sick dogs on children, and they caught it on film,
right?
And it circulated around the world. America was embarrassed because people in other countries like Britain and these sophisticated countries said, "Well, America, they're barbarians. They're not." And that's why JFK said, "Wait a minute, we can't look like this on the world stage." So that's why those bills were passed. And anybody that says there's no such thing as systemic racism, all they need to do is rewind back to those times. If there was no such thing as systemic racism, then why would you have to pass laws to stop racist?
Yeah, well, they're not saying systemic racism didn't exist. They're saying it don't exist now. They're saying we've evolved past that in 2024.
And do you agree with that or not?
Do I believe in 2024 we still have systemic racism? I'm going to err on the side. I don't feel we do, but I do believe color still matters. I think if you're an African American and you want to have the American dream, I don't think there's a whole lot preventing you. Now, if you want to become president or, you want to own a sports team or something like that, that's when you start encountering barriers. But if I just want to make $100,000 a year, have a nice house, a nice car, I think as an African American, most of us can afford to do that. Now, I will say, though, there are areas where being black doesn't help you out. If you get into trouble, you're going to face a much greater wrath of the justice system being black. Somebody mentioned George Floyd, for instance. Maybe if a white person did the same thing, they don't have the same outcome. So, but if you live a straight and narrow life, I don't see where you're going to encounter a whole lot that's going to be really adverse. But once you start getting into trouble, if you become homeless or you get on drugs or you commit a crime, yeah, I think the outcome for you becomes greater than other people.
So that's a great answer. But here's what I'll point out. You mentioned the judicial system.
Right.
So that's a system, and if that's unfair, then that's systemic racism. Even if it's just
that's a good answer. I agree with that.
Even if it's just impacting the criminals of the world. But I would say that one thing that you didn't mention in your explanation is that there's also still redlining going on. Wells Fargo just got, I think it was February of this year, Wells Fargo got hit with discriminatory. Yeah, I believe it was February this year. I can't be positive about that, but I know it was extremely recent that they were hit with a lawsuit and actually convicted of unfair, of discrimination.
Well, that actually happened to me. I used to be a landlord. I had several properties in Chicago. I had about 20 tenants. I had a few duplexes. Taking out loans. I had one with Countrywide and Fifth Third Bank at the time. And all of a sudden, I get an email telling me that, I have the right to be part of a class action suit. Turns out that they were giving higher interest rates to lenders that were black than other folks, and they did it to me. Now, I'm happy. I got, property. I'm doing okay financially. I didn't even know, but they were able to prove, and they had to settle and pay us some money. So all of it ain't ended hundreds of years ago. I do agree with that.
Right. So if you want to say that it's improved, I agree.
Yeah,
I
there we
definitely
go.
agree that it's improved, but it still exists.
Yeah.
And it's subtle. And even so, one of the things that really I'm not going to say it scares me, but one of the things I'm really concerned about is if police do actually get immunity. Do you know how fast the line is gonna fill up with racists, with the three letter groups and all of these 3%ers and whoever's coming? You know how many of them are going to become police officers just so they can simply take advantage of that?
Yeah, there's no doubt if police get immunity, the level of racism in this country will skyrocket. Because as I pointed out, the most likely chance you have as a minority of encountering racism is you get tied up in the justice system. And now if they got immunity, they can reach out and put you in the system even if you're doing nothing wrong. Random stop and frisk and things like that. So yeah, if police get immunity, I do believe people of color are going to feel it first. I mean, that's not to exclude white people. Folks that are of lower income are going to feel it too, but being a minority would not be safe in that environment.
And that's the thing. That unfortunately, when you make these generalizations, you include, not intentionally but unintentionally, you include white people who are good people and who are fighting a good fight to try to help stop the spread of racism and who are anti-MAGA, and I'm going to say it again. MAGA is a hate group. If you think about any hate group, what is it? They have a credo, they have a leader, they have an agenda. All of that is common with MAGA. There is absolutely no good thing that comes about by trying to go back in our history and try to relive some things that we've actually as a country grown out of. I really believe it's because that white men feel threatened, and they realize that at some point they're no longer going to be the majority, and they're no longer going to be.
It's interesting you would say that, and I see in the comments Joe Shalom said the effects of systemic racism already happened. Making it sound like it's in the past. I don't quite get what you mean, but it's interesting you mentioned that because President Trump, truth is irony, stated that he believes that there is a bias towards whites in this country, and that if he is elected, he's going to correct that. I don't know what he means by that, just like I don't know what he means by giving police immunity, but he said he believes that there is a anti-white bias in this country, and he will correct that if elected.
Right, and so you know what that is. It's a dog whistle that everybody can hear. It's actually what he's telling these former Tea Parties that are now MAGA. He's telling them, look, I'm on your side. We're gonna get these Negroes under control. We're not gonna have no. I guarantee you, right now, I will eat crow on your show if Donald Trump actually appoints Tim Scott or Byron Donalds or any person of color or a woman, or not so much. Maybe he might do a woman, but he's not picking one of those brothers to be his running mate. It's absolutely.
You're the first person I've ever heard refer to Tim Scott as a brother. I gotta move it on. No truth. Appreciate you coming on, Tim Scott. Tim Scott is back at the cookout. Shout out to Tim Scott. Put down a hat and have some barbecue. Looking in the comments. Are you kidding? A black party. Sharon, I see you. Really right, I agree that would be a great president. Eric Trump said, we are white. All right. Looking in the comments, he has a hat because he's MAGA friendly. And it says, I am MAGA friendly. For folks who wonder why I have the MAGA hat in the background, even though some of my politics leans left. By the way, I don't find everything about Trump to be hate. I don't hate everything about Trump. I wasn't living that bad during his time in office, but the purpose of the hat is I do believe that conservatives, Republicans, and particularly MAGA are often censored or banned, ostracized in the media. So that's my goal here is when you come on this program, you will be allowed to speak. You don't have to agree with any damn body. I do believe you should have First Amendment free speech rights, and I'll give them to you as far as I can on the program. So when I say we're MAGA friendly, that's what we mean. Program is MAGA friendly, always has been, Always will be. But liberals are welcome. So looking in the comments, they should stop lying, says Debo. Well, listen, that's the whole purpose of open dialogue between all sides, is because you can sometimes get folks to realize maybe some issues with what they're saying. For instance, me and DJ Julio hash it out all the time. He's MAGA, and he's admitted, sometimes you open my eyes up, and damn it, sometimes they open my eyes up as well. That's what happens, as opposed to just dismissing everybody as a libtard or a racist, or no, let the people speak. Let them speak. In the comments, free my grandma. Looking at this from a spiritual standpoint, all I see is good versus evil. Thank you for the very kind super chat. It's an interesting point, but I think in this country, and probably most countries, I don't want to put just the United States in a echo, silence by itself, but oftentimes the line is blurred between what represents good and evil. I get a lot of folks on the program, for instance, talking about, well, the slave owners didn't know it was bad back then. Therefore, they're not really evil. I mean, you can really blur the lines if you know how to speak. So, yeah, good versus evil, fair enough, but you got to first be able to define what is good and what is evil. Good point, by the way, though. Looking in the comments, why are we always put in a box? It's the American way. That's how America was founded. From day one, we started out putting people in a box, and it is carried on throughout our history. This is why it's important to teach history. History has a lot to do with how we behave and act today. It is what it is. Going back to the box. Thank you folks for tapping the screen. Double luck. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Who is supposed to pay reparations? I never owned a slave. Why the hell should I have to pay anyone? Well, hold on a second, Double Look. I will say this in regards to, slavery ended a long time ago. I don't want to pay reparations. Fact is, even if those folks were alive, the anti-reparation argument would still exist, because there are two folks that are still living that went through what they call the Black Wall Street, the Tulsa. Wasn't race riots. It was just a massacre of blacks who owned businesses. It just tore their shit down, set the town on fire. Two of them are still alive. They're not dead. They're alive, and they still don't want to give them shit. They're actually still here. So the idea they've been dead a long time. It wouldn't make a difference if they were alive or dead. So I get your point, but I don't think that makes a difference. Double Luck. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm actually in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
So, damn. I would like to. Do they have something in tribute to that, right? I would like to come see that.
Yeah. It's the Greenwood District down there, and it actually shows, if you were to calculate the actual financial damage of what it would be, so people know. And at the end of the day, I hear what people say, like, "Hey, I didn't participate in this," but anything our government, committed against a group. It's the United States who owes. It's not white people who owe anything. It's the American government who owes. So that's the way people need to look at it.
Well, I would also say too, unlike slavery, that's far more recent. You're talking about like 1920. So if your grandma or your great grandma has a house that she got due to their property being stolen and it's been passed down in your family, maybe you didn't have anything to do with it, but the house that you inherited, you're benefiting from it. Somebody stole that from somebody else and gave it to your family, and when you grew up to be an adult and you received this gift that put you ahead of the game that the original owner's children now have to work for because it was stolen from them. Now, you didn't do it, but you are benefiting from it.
Right. And I mean, many people say, "Hey, would they even be able to pay out money or whatever?" I think, I'm a veteran. I think they should at least do something with respect to education and home ownership. I mean, we all know that's the main two things that are probably leading indicators on how you can amass wealth. So, I mean, I think they should do similar things.
Never going to happen. I mean,
it may not, but I mean, if you don't have money, you can at least say you're not putting 20% down, and there's some sort of educational assistance in some way.
Yeah. Here's why I say it's never going to happen. Creating a holiday to commemorate the day slaves were free. We're talking about Juneteenth. Doesn't cost anybody a penny. In fact, you got a whole damn day off work for a lot of federal employees. And folks didn't even want that to take place. That is free. That is free. And folks were like, no, they don't even need that. So reparations is comedy at this point.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the whole Oklahoma thing, putting the Bible in, grades 5 through 12.
Well, but before you get that up, I want before you get into that, Joe Shalom on YouTube says you don't need religion to be a moral person. You need religion to justify not being one. Ouch! How do you view that? Because we're about to get into that. Go ahead. Damn.
I would just say Christendom alone doesn't even agree on what the Bible even says, and you can't believe that there are not atheists who are teachers. So really, do you want atheists teaching your children about the Bible? There are people in the Christian faith that will say, hey, this type of person isn't a Christian. Catholics aren't real Christians, and they'll have all these things. So I'm like, even the people who classify themselves as Christians don't even believe other Christians are Christians.
Yeah, but you know what's coming next. If you can force religion in schools, you'll probably force atheists to not have that particular duty to teach the Bible. I mean, if you're an atheist, when you're being given, you're teaching history, you're teaching English, you're going to be teaching, Christianity or teaching the Bible. That would probably be on the application. Are you an atheist? If so, you're disqualified for that job.
But I'm saying there's even people in Christian faith that don't believe other Christians are Christians.
Yeah.
So there you have the Taliban type view that say, hey, only my way is the right way, and people argue about baptism, whether it's essential to salvation or whatever. You got some people that say it is, some people it's not, and I just don't understand where we as Americans want to revert. To me, it's now clear, and like I said, I used to be Republican, but to me, it's now clear. It's either you're making decisions based on the Constitution, or you're making decisions based on this book. And at the end of the day, if you want the Constitution to reflect what's in that book, go through the rules and change the Constitution. Quit trying to just negate what the Constitution says and says, well, because we live in this state and, we believe there's some historical relevance to this book, that it's going to go in there. And like somebody even said before, well, the people decided this, that, and that. The people didn't decide anything. The state superintendent decided on his own, and that's what we're going to do. So it's
you're in Oklahoma. I was mentioning the Tulsa things, but you're also in Oklahoma where they're forcing the Bible. You're in an interesting state. Right. Damn, you're in a bad place. You've thought about moving?
Yeah, I moved back because of the quote unquote good thing is the property is cheaper, and I don't have to pay property tax because the veteran thing here, but it's veteran friendly. But there is authoritarian moves being made, so people to keep saying, well, this Project 2025 is fear mongering, this, that. They're actually doing it. It's already being put in place, and Trump doesn't have to be the person to actually be the person that makes it get enacted. They're already getting this idea, and people are making moves anyway.
Give me some examples of Project 2025.
That alone right there. Just the thing with the Bible.
Yeah.
Hey, Trump's not in. He's not really. He's talking about reading from 2 Kings and all this other stuff. So I don't believe he's really what he professes to be. But he's an opportunist. He's an opportunist anyway. He didn't have to ever pray to God because.
Let me ask you this. I want to, because this is in the comments. Doug asked, this was actually Jim asked this question. Do you follow Biden as his racism? Do you see Biden as being racist?
I've said I can see where people would say, hey, yes, he's done certain things. I just go with recency. People this is what I think is funny about it. Is like people that believe the right, they believe in the Christian, for the most part, Christian beliefs.
Okay.
When it comes to this person, they won't say, okay, well, he's changed. He can't be redeemed. But yet Trump is given a pass on everything. Well, he really didn't mean it that way, and he's not perfect, and God does all these things with these imperfect people. But I just look at it back to the old statement of hey, actions speak louder than words, and if you want to go with the recency thing, he's got a woman of color as his vice president. He named Ketanji Brown, Justice of the Supreme Court. It is just. He could have said things that are definitely, if you want to look at, slave owners didn't know this at the time, and it was a different time. It was a different time too when busing was happening and all these other things. And we've moved past that. But I just look at, I'm not giving Trump a pass on anything because to me, it's just he has no respect of the law. And this whole thing with immunity, I can foresee that, okay, well, if Trump as a president gets immunity and he wants to grant police immunity, then that's just a de facto Gestapo right there. And you can just do whatever. You don't have to get, and the funny thing I see is that a veteran, we don't get immunity on in war even. Yeah. You have to follow the rules and the law of armed conflict, and you can't say, well, this kid jumped up and I thought it was the enemy, and I was trigger happy because I was scared. Nobody, you don't get immunity. So I don't know why police would even.
Well, I'll tell you where it would work really well for Trump to give police immunity, and I'm going to assume MAGA would absolutely agree with this. If you believe we got 10 to 20 million illegals in the country, and most MAGA want undocumented folks out of this country, it sure becomes a lot easier to do if the cops have immunity, because you're going to have a lot of folks that are left-wingers that may be married to an illegal, or maybe got a friend, so you're hiding them out of your house. And well, if the cops got immunity, now they can come in your house without even asking you. I mean, we heard you got an immigrant upstairs. We don't have to ask if we can come in anymore. So I do believe it would be real easy to get rid of them if the cops had immunity.
I just don't believe how MAGA falls for the bull, but they always fall for the okie doke. It's like whatever this person says, you actually believe it, and it may sound good because it appeals to whatever your innate instinct is or whatever. But I mean, like I say, when I was Republican, it was all about the money. How are you doing this? You don't have the money to do all this. Quit believing this bullshit. It's not going to happen. It's physically impossible for it to happen. And the savior of the Republican Party long ago was Reagan. Reagan gave amnesty to all these people. They forget about that. Oh, what about the border? The border's been fucked up since I've been alive that I ever even knew about politics. In 1980, the border was jacked up.
Yeah.
Been jacked up. It's always been jacked up.
Well, as long as we're going to other countries and affecting their economies in a negative way, it's going to be people trying to, well, shit, if you got all the money, you took it from us, I might as well come over there with you.
Right.
Yeah. So, all right, Double Luck. I do got to move it on as always. Appreciate you coming back through.
Have a good one.
You too as always. Looking in the comments, and I understand, listen, I got a lot of folks that are on the right as well as on the left. You start getting into issues in regards to racism or America's dark past. My right side of the aisle doesn't like that shit. I get it, but this is a free speech program. Just like I don't mind issues coming up about Biden, whether it's his past or how he is now. That's how free speech works. You don't pick and choose what you want to discuss and ignore all the rest of the stuff because you think it affects you in a negative way. That's not how we do it here. Get folks come on all the time like this. So look at it in the comments, though. The only thing I agree with MAGA is these immigrants got to go, says immigrant. Emmett Hubley says the only thing you agree with MAGA is these immigrants got to go. I guess the first question I would ask you is getting the immigrants out of this country, does anything go? Are you okay? I mean, by any means necessary is what I'm saying. I mean, let's say, for instance, somebody is in the country and they're married to an American, they have children, but they are here illegally. Are you okay with breaking that family up? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's going to come up in real life. You're going to have people who have done great things for their community. Maybe this guy is here illegally, but he's been working in a homeless shelter, helping people, come by and giving people soup and things like that, working on behalf of the homeless shelter for the last 8 or 9 years. Or maybe this other person can show you where somebody was actually trying to take the life of a cop and he saved, he got the folks off the guy, but he's here illegally. I mean, it's not going to apply. This is what I keep saying, just like with the immunity thing. Some of these radical policies are going to affect people you actually might think are good. It's not going to just stop with certain people. Like I brought up, if you get a cop's immunity, there's going to come a time when cops are going to do something to people you think are actually good. It's not just going to be some person of color that talks shit to the cops or is breaking the law. It's going to eventually happen to somebody you think is good. And that's going to happen with the immigrants. We've had folks who served in war, served in combat, and then got deported. So it's going to happen to people you actually favor as well. It ain't just going to go perfect like a lot of people believe. Looking in the comments, and by the way, as I mentioned, maybe somebody, what do they call it? Swatting, when they deliberately send the police to your house or something like that. I think it's called swatting. If the police got immunity and somebody phones in that you're hiding a bunch of immigrants in the back of your small business, I mean, they're going to show up. Is that going to piss off your customers thinking you're hiring illegals, or police come in there and they're searching? I mean, this is what can happen. It's not going to be only happening to the people you want it to happen to. I mean, this stuff can be used in a variety of avenues. As I said, let's say you got a small restaurant or something like that, and your neighbor don't like you. And it's at a time when we're kicking everybody out of the country, the police have immunity. Your neighbor calls the cops and says, I know for a fact this guy got 7 or 8 illegals working for him. And right now he's hiding them in the freezer or something because he knows you guys are coming over. So he's hiding them in the back, or he sent them upstairs. Well, the cops can come in now and go all through your business. And your customers are sitting there watching it. Maybe they're being told, don't get up from the table until we're done. So now they're late for work and shit. I mean, this is going to happen to people that you don't think it should happen to. It just doesn't open up the door to do what you want it to do. It opens up the door for it to happen to any and everybody. Looking in the comments though, why rag on Trump and not Biden if they both do it? Well, Melissa, shout out to my female Maga, because I believe that, you know, everybody thinks the liberals are going to get all the women, but there are plenty of female Republicans in MAGA. But you say, why rag on Trump and not Biden if they both? Well, Trump ain't promising to get a cop's immunity. I mean, better yet, Biden. Biden is not promising to get a cop's immunity. If you want to talk about radical policies of Biden, maybe it be LGBT issues that you don't favor, like transgender man playing for a female's team, or maybe not having any restrictions on abortion at all. I mean, there's some radical policies of Biden. I don't know if he favors this stuff, but it will happen in a pro-Biden world. But the stuff we're talking about Trump, Biden is not in for that stuff. Biden is not in favor of anything in Project 2025. So it's not a both sides thing, Melissa. I don't see that. Fuck around and find out. Gen X, come on, Tim. Now you're virtue signaling. Maybe that term is going above my head. If you get caught driving drunk, you get taken away from your family. You broke the law. If you're illegal, you gotta go. You know how many people who get drunk driving and they give up? I get your point though. That's the point. The point he's trying to make is if you come in the country illegally, just like robbing a bank, if you got your kid with you when you rob a bank, they separate you from your child. I think the difference is, and this is where the right is going to see me as maybe a bleeding heart liberal or something like that. I think the difference is people who commit crimes like shoplifting or, you know, robbing a bank or something, that's an actual straight crime. Coming in the country illegally is a crime, but it's now a crime where they're trying to maybe feed their family or escape, you know, hostility. It's a different type of crime. Just like if you went into a store, you know, you see these folks that these mass, what do you call it, mob robberies, a bunch of black kids go in, they stealing purses and shit. That's crime. But if you've seen a kid go into a grocery store and he's stealing potato chips or some shit, and then you go outside chasing him, you see him sitting down eating them like a freaking monster because he's starving, it's a crime, but it's a different kind of crime. You're going to be more sympathetic to somebody who's committing a crime almost as a measure of survival. And that's why the immigrants are receiving a different level of punishment than, as you point out, somebody robbing a bank or committing another crime where you separate them from their families. Because it's a difference between committing a crime for evil and committing a crime just out of necessity. So I hear your point, but I think it's a little different, Gen X. And thank you for the super chat. Oh, please. That's just dumb, Tim says. Chris Tolby. I don't think it's dumb. I don't think it's dumb at all. I mean, there's plenty of people who commit crimes that we view out of necessity and give them a passion. For you folks who may be old enough, and I'm telling my age, but ever heard of the movie The Burning Bed, starring Farrah Fawcett? I'm going way the hell back. This is in my childhood, but I remember the damn movie, where a woman is being abused, and instead of leaving the house and going somewhere else, she sets her husband on fire while he's in the damn bed. She didn't have to do that. She could have left. But because folks viewed it as a crime of necessity, they don't treat it the same. That's the difference I'm making. There's a guy, I believe it was on the West Coast. I don't remember the actual state, but a lot of you folks are going to remember this when I say it. Guy was accused of, I think, assaulting his daughter or sexually assaulting his, I don't know if it was a son or daughter, but it was a child. And the father waited in court for the guy to walk past him and shot him in the head and killed him. That's a crime. But everybody understood that after seeing your child being abused by somebody, and he ended up not doing much of a punishment for that. So somebody said it happened in Texas. Oh, damn, that makes sense. It happened in Texas. But yeah, what I'm saying is it's a difference between some crimes you commit. Now, I guess somebody in the comments said that was dumb. Fair enough. But it is what it is. Some people, sometimes you commit a crime. Folks may view this as, yeah, I kind of understand that shit. Versus, in another case where it's just simply a crime of opportunity. It's a little different. That's my opinion. So you hear all this talk about Hunter Biden and the conflict of interest and the nepotism. Do you think Ivanka and Jared warrant the same criticism? Says lyrical, yeah, to some degree, yeah. Just like Trump is saying that his cases are a witch hunt. They're simply to go at him because he's the opposition. The case that Hunter Biden's dealing with is the same thing. I strongly believe, Hunter Biden is guilty of sin. I'm not saying he's innocent, but Hunter Biden lied on the gun application. Nobody was hurt, got rid of the gun in 11 days. If his dad was not running for president, they would have easily, certainly with somebody with that kind of money, they'd have made a deal behind the scenes, that would have went away. He didn't do anything wrong with the gun. As folks talk about a victimless crime, that clearly was one. So yeah, Hunter Biden is a victim of a witch hunt as well. So the right points out President Trump, and I do believe some of Trump's issues are politicized. I'm not denying that. They were totally fine with it when it was done. When it was done to Hunter Biden, suddenly witch hunts sound great. Going back to the box, and I see it in the comments, Emma's talking about JFK. Not a chance in hell. Not a chance in hell for JFK. Good luck with that. Miss Mobetta, good afternoon. Miss Mo, hold on a second. I hit up something. Alex. All right, fair enough. I brought up a different guest. Good afternoon, Alex. Alex, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, fair enough. So what do you think in regards to this Project 2025? Trump is saying he's never heard. Have you heard of Project 2025?
Oh, I have heard of Project 2025.
What do you think of it?
I think it's terrifying. I think it's really scary, and I think people that haven't been paying attention but pretend like they have an opinion or get on these message boards and have a strong opinion publicly and pretend like they haven't or haven't heard of it are kind of frustrating to me.
But let me ask it to you this way. Why do you believe there is virtually no outrage on the right for this? This is a 900-page document easily obtainable online. There's virtually no outrage from any Republican politicians, or most Republican voters are not even crying out about it. Why do you think that is?
This will probably get a fun reaction from your MAGA crowd, and it's just a thought. It's not considering everybody, but I think in a lot of ways, a lot of people that are super far into the MAGA thing are kind of low critical thinking and technically low research. I think they just take his word for it. They don't look into the things. And I hear it a lot. Trump said this. Not long ago he said he didn't know who Epstein was. He said he just acknowledged Epstein.
He doesn't know who Epstein is. He didn't know who Stormy Daniels was. He didn't know what was the guy down in Louisiana that was saying if you don't vote for Trump, it's a treason to the white race.
I don't remember his name.
Yeah, he didn't know who. Trump will disown your ass in a minute. I don't know who you are.
Yeah, he said the same thing about his Homeland Security advisor when he was in office. His actual Homeland Security officer, who's come out against Trump since then. But he just goes live and he says, I don't know who that guy is, but he's standing next to him in the Oval Office. He's the guy who handed him the information about the border.
Yeah, I see everybody say, the guy in Louisiana was David Duke. I see everybody putting that up here. Yeah, I mean, Trump will tell you in a minute, I don't know who that person is, and people believe it, though.
Yeah, and he said, he says the same thing about Project 2025, and I think they just take their word for it, whereas, Democrats are almost annoyingly the opposite, where, it's almost to a negative effect, which you currently see after the debate. They're so hypercritical of our own guy that they're like so quick to be like, I'm off, I'm out on Biden, because they look into all the details, which is a good thing. But I think that I just don't see a lot of people double checking.
But you gotta admit, there's a hell of a lot of Democrats playing dumb on Biden's cognitive state. I mean, because folks are buying that what Biden did is a one-off. When you got folks like George Clooney and folks who are really big friends and donors to the Biden camp coming out and admit, I mean, for George Clooney to take out an op-ed in the New York Times and tell folks that Biden is declining, that says a lot, because he's a donor. He's actually a donor to the Biden campaign. Trump hates George Clooney. In fact, Trump attacked George Clooney today. So for George Clooney to do that, that means Biden is clearly disintegrating in his face.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the debate just like everybody else, and I can't argue that. I'm not going to be one of those people that says, oh, well, it's not as bad as you think, or no, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. And again, I find myself on the left, where I'm critical of him. I'm critical of him, and I've done a lot of research. I'm not going to say like he isn't, whereas a lot of on the other side they're like, no, Trump's fine, or he's not that old, or this, that, and the other thing. But with Biden, it's tough because you do the research and you think about him stepping down. I saw this guy talking about it. It's not just as easy as saying like, all right, Gavin, you're in, because technically there's a legal issue with all the money donated. You can't just transfer.
Well, I will say this right now with the Supreme Court with a 6-3 majority. Let's say, for instance, the Democrats collectively got together and said, we're going to put Michelle Obama up. And everybody on the Democrat side was okay with that. With the Supreme Court being the way it is, I wouldn't be surprised if a MAGA or a Trump supporter stepped up, came up with one of these Roe v. Wade cases based totally on fiction and said, that goes against the Constitution. And I believe the Supreme Court would certainly say, yeah, she can't run.
Totally.
Yeah.
But then, then what happens? Does Biden pull the trigger and say, you know what, I have immunity according to you? But then again, that'll get shut down because that goes right back to the Supreme Court.
Well, we talked about that yesterday. The Supreme Court said that the president has immunity for official acts, but they never define what an official act is. So if Biden does something and says that he has immunity like Trump does, they'll deem what he did is not an official act. So that's why they didn't define it. So it's kind of a filter so that only Trump's activities can pass through. When Biden does something, well, shit, that ain't official. But when Trump does it, yeah, that is. There you go now, and it works.
Totally, and that's about as double standard as it gets, and that's that scariness. And yeah, it's cool that the AOC is jumping up and trying to get the ball moving, or at least show awareness to like, hey, we're not ignorant to how one-sided these types of decisions are. But at the same time, I think the guest earlier, what I was on here was like, I think it was moo, but it's like it's a win in the sense that like people care, but it's not going to go anywhere, and that's frustrating. That's really frustrating. All
right, fair enough. So you think at the end of the day, though, we are going to have President Trump this time next year serving this country?
No, I hope not. I mean, I think there's an argument to be made that for those who don't think Biden can get through 4 more years, the same people are often saying, well, let's have Biden step down and Kamala can be the president for the next few months, and then she runs as the incumbent. The same thing, but it's like it's kind of the same thing if he still has 1 or 2 more good years in him. If he steps down at that point, Kamala fills in. It's the same thing whether he does it now or if it happens in 2 years. I don't know if there's a better way.
To me, voting Biden in with so many Democrats openly admitting, yeah, you know, he's better than Trump, but he won't likely serve his whole term. It's like getting on a plane where you know the co-pilot is, I mean, better yet, the captain is going to die in the middle of the flight, and you're depending on the co-pilot to get you where you're going. You know this pilot is not going to make it to the destination, but you got a great co-pilot, so you feel like you'll be okay. That's what it kind of sounds like to me.
Yeah, and that's fair, but then I put it to the fact that, all right, well, there are no other pilots except for one other pilot that's going to do aerial tricks the whole time, or you know what I mean? Like, so which guy do I want to go with? I don't know.
I gotta go. That's funny as hell. I appreciate it. Good job.
Appreciate you, Jim.
Yeah, anytime. Doing aerobics or aerobatics in a commercial airline. There was a kid that did that and died. Stole a plane out on the West Coast. He may have, I mean, there's actual footage of him. Smaller commuter aircraft, but it was big enough to hold probably a few dozen passengers. Anyway, he stole the aircraft and was doing flips and shit in it and killed himself and died. Looking in the comments though, real quick, official act, tell DOJ to step up the case against Trump or eliminate Justice Cannon. That won't be ruled official if Biden does that. I'm telling you, that's why they specifically decided not to define official act, because everybody was saying if they give Trump immunity, Biden can use that immunity to do whatever he wants, maybe even to prevent Trump from becoming president. I mean, most liberals were already saying, well, shit, if they give him immunity, that gives Biden, well, you don't think Supreme Court justices who know the law didn't sit around and say, yeah, you know, they do have a point. We got to make sure that shit doesn't happen. How about we give Trump immunity, but we don't define what immunity is, so that if Biden gets out of hand, then we can say what he did was not an official act. That's how that works. And that's why you seen, Ketanji Brown or whatever, and Sotomayor, they were pissed off, like, you didn't define it. It's got to be crazy, or it's got to be awful to some degree, to sit on the Supreme Court and watch them making decisions that you can do nothing about. I mean, decisions that are radical, because giving the president immunity in the way they did is kind of radical when you don't define it. I mean, folks will say, well, look, you know, other presidents don't want, you know, them going back in time like Barack Obama when he droned an American citizen, or George Bush with the Iraq War. We don't want them to be able to go back in time. So, hey, what they did for Trump is a good thing. No, you got to define it, though. You got to define it. When you leave it undefined, now nobody knows what immunity is. It would have been different if they had thought what Trump was going through was a witch hunt, gave him some type of protection, but clearly defined what it is. But now without them defining it, it opens a wide door of what can happen. This is where Sotomayor was saying you could use SEAL Team 6, because the way they wrote it up is not only are you immune from for official acts, but anybody you tell what you did while in concert with the office is inadmissible in court. So when Trump tells Mike Pence, for instance, yeah, you can do this, don't worry about it, we got your back, you can't bring it up in court. You know, you can't bring it up in court. So the president can do some pretty bad shit, and even if somebody wanted to be a whistleblower, they would face resistance because, yeah, you know what I did, but you ain't gonna be able to talk about it. It's inadmissible. I mean, so it opened up a wide portal for some bad people to go through. Hopefully Trump and Biden would never do anything like that, but it certainly opened up the door to somebody having the potential to do it in the future. My guess is, as I've said before, is that you'll probably end up seeing a law once Trump is out of the picture, Biden is out of the picture, passing a law to close what the Supreme Court did. And in my humble opinion, that will go down in history as one of the really bad decisions made by the Supreme Court. I think you talk about Biden's awful approval rating right now. Trump's approval rating is not great, but Biden's, I believe, is worse. If you look at the Supreme Court's approval rating, it's got to be trash. Even folks on the right that love the victories they're getting are openly willing to admit, yeah, they biased as fuck. I mean, the Supreme Court being viewed as fair and unbiased, impartial. I don't think anybody sees them that way at this point. They clearly are in the bag for a second Trump term, for a right-wing America. I mean, they clearly are in the bag for it. So, yeah, I think they'll have to end up either passing some laws to get things under control, or you might see somebody try to pack the court. I don't know. The immunity decision was bullshit. Supreme Court getting fringe these days, says Uncle Fluke. Not only the immunity decision, being in favor of politicians and folks taking money. I mean, it's just corrupt. It comes across as corrupt. Now, I'm not saying Democrats ain't doing it too. As Mood points out, Democrats are in the pocket. People are in the Democrats' pocket as well. But you normally would think the justices would be the ones that would stop this stuff. You find out Clarence Thomas and some of them folks are some of the main individuals that are getting paid. I mean, it's corrupt as hell. I mean, I don't have any trust in the Supreme Court. And I wouldn't have it if I was far to the right either. I would view the Supreme Court as being on my side. That's how I would view it. Going back to the box, Miss Mo Betta, good afternoon. Welcome back to the pro. Clarence admits affirmative action helped him, then closed the deal. Clarence Thomas, for a black man, is way to the right. Shout out to all the white folks. He's doing a good job for you. Miss Mo Betta, good afternoon.
That's Clarence Thomas. He can be bought and sold at any price. Yeah. And it's been proven how many trips and all kinds of things he's accepted already. This is why I for the life of me, I don't understand how anybody would be able to trust him.
Yeah, the Supreme Court, man, I do believe this will be a time in history that they will be brought up as one of the more corrupt courts. That immunity decision is awful.
Because not for nothing, even if a Democrat came with the right price, they'd sell a Republican out as well. Yeah. It's just you got to name your price.
So how do you respond to somebody like John Caponero on YouTube says maybe the guy is just a true conservative at heart? I don't know. In other words,
tell them to define a true conservative. See, this is how people been getting away with stuff for so long because they're not being made to define or explain what you're saying. You'll throw a term out there and think people's supposed to buy into that shit. Explain what you mean. What's a true conservative?
Well, in the era of Maga, I don't know if a true conservative is the same as it used to be because I don't see Trump as a true conservative. However, I think he's doing some really phenomenal things for folks who are. But if you're MAGA, you're going to roll with Trump even if he does things that are anti-conservative, like cheating on his wife and all that stuff. You don't care.
That shows. They go and everything is a witch hunt when it comes to him. Anybody that's not licking his boots is the bad person. Oh, they're bad. The worst in history. Oh, the big. You already know how they throw those terms out, and it's like, okay, now it's gospel because he said in history.
I want to be Trump so bad, Miss Mo Betta. He has immunity. I want to be that guy. I want to hang around him. Right. I mean, I ain't never seen anybody with that kind of power. I mean, walking around him is like, you ever see, for some of you, this is probably for the African Americans in the crowd. You ever see the movie The Last Dragon when Leroy got the glow? That's what it feels like. That man is glowing.
Yeah, kiss my Converse.
Right. That man is glowing.
Ugly ass gold sneakers that he made. Kiss my ugly ass gold sneakers. That's what he did. And he thought, and namely us black people, he wanted us to fall into that bullshit. And for the ones that actually did, I feel sorry for them. Because mentally they're in a bad place.
I don't know, Miss Mo Betta. I would like to have a pair of Trump sneakers as political memorabilia. I think those shoes may be worth something in the future.
Possibly. Yeah. Listen, it's all an assumption, but possibly they could be worth. Oh, I got a pair of those sneakers, but you go right ahead. Well, just give it a few. You might be able to go to the 99-cent store and get them out of one of them bins. So just hold tight.
I don't think Trump.
Just hold tight.
Trump has such an ego. I don't think he would let his shoes be in the 99-cent store. He would buy them all up before that happens.
He's the most egotistical man walking this earth, believe it or not. Well, and MAGA can argue with it, call me whatever. He's the most egotistical bigot I've ever experienced in my 51 years of living. He's a bigot.
Now, having an ego is one thing. Being a bigot is another. Where are you getting the bigot from?
He's a bigot. He likes money and power. He doesn't care about people. That's what makes him that bigot.
Well,
so he'll go after. He's only gonna go after people like except people when they can again lick his boots. Other than that, he don't care about you. That's why you don't see black people on his cabinet. You don't see him renting to black folks or the minorities that he did employ. He didn't even pay them. So,
but he ain't doing bad, Miss Mobetta, with the black community compared to Reagan, Romney, McCain. He actually is. I mean, he'll never get 50% of the black vote. I get it, but he actually ain't doing that bad compared to his Republican predecessors.
Well, because again, he has them thinking that all right, he's a felon. He could do this. So, like he was saying to them, they could appease to them because this is how the black people have been treated. Those are the ones who they don't sit down and think and really look at what he's doing.
Yeah.
What he's saying.
In regards to
he's the Pied Piper. I keep telling you that he's the Pied Piper. You know how they blew that flute and they just started following? That's what he is.
Last guy who was referred to as the Pied Piper is in prison for the rest of his life. Shout out to R. Kelly.
And he need to be next door. He need to be right next to him.
Ooh.
Like, listen, you hear how they keep trying to deny all these Epstein files and stuff? His name is all up and through there with 13-year-old girls and stuff like that. So come on, let's knock that off. That was there. The proof was there.
So you do believe that Trump potentially abused or took the innocence of a minor?
Oh, I absolutely did.
Wow.
Anytime you refer to your own child as being able to want to do whatever with your own child, then that says a lot to me. And now I know they're gonna say, well, Biden showered with his daughter. Listen, I showered with my son too until he turned 5 years old because he had a fear of the water. So, but once he got 5 years old and we explained to him what XYZ was, then he started taking his own. So y'all knock it off with that.
Mm.
Like I said, that doesn't make Biden squeaky clean on anything. Like right. They grew up in an era where there was nothing but racism in this country. Both of them did.
Yeah.
So to deny that they don't have any kind of racism in them I'd be the fool.
Yeah. And I see in the comments on YouTube, I'll give this to you because I spoke on it earlier, but Jay Roeder is asking about thoughts on qualified immunity for police. We just talked about it, but he's probably just tuning in. How do you feel about the fact that Trump is talking about giving police immunity?
Because he wants them. He knows he's a criminal. Trump is a criminal. He's going to continue his criminal acts. He's just in a higher position now. They're going to let that go. It's going to be nothing but civil unrest in this country, and he's going to need the protection more than anybody. So, but like we were saying before, he really doesn't have the total power to give it to like local police officers and things like that. He can only do it on the federal level, so. Yeah. He speaks without anybody calling him out and asking him to explain exactly what he means.
Well, the problem is, I look at it like this. You're correct. The president would not have a lot of power to give immunity on a local level. But as you pointed out, MAGA tends to follow so if Trump offers to give police immunity, you can be fairly confident that the Bible Belt states will start doing it at the state level. So let's say, for instance, an African American is abused in Mississippi somewhere and they don't want to do nothing about it. Right now, you can actually go after them for violating your civil rights on a federal level. Well, if you gave the guy immunity, so now if the state of Mississippi don't do shit about it, well, you already know at the federal level you got immunity. So ain't nothing gonna happen.
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It really is. And listen, like I said, I have a son that's a police officer. He's in law enforcement, and I still call it dangerous.
Yeah.
Because what are you going to do now? And especially too, like you say, now you have the fight with the illegals being here and stuff like that. What's going to happen? You're going to find a lot of dead people in the streets and not having to justify why they are. Oh, they were here legally. So I felt I needed to unalive them.
So how do you respond to someone like Veronica in the comments says, and this is in all caps, she says it is up to the cities to have law and order. How do you respond to folks who might say, we got to give the police immunity because folks are getting out of hand?
No, you still can't. You still can't. That's still going to cause turmoil and chaos and different things like that because we're in a day and time now. People have a lot more nerve to fight back when it comes to certain things. This is not the Jim Crow era, whether they're trying to send us back there or not. This is not. We have a lot more people, especially namely black people, because we tend to be on the other side of the gun. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We tend to be there. So there's like, listen, we're not putting up with that. So this is why they feel that police need the immunity. Let's go. Let's do the numbers. Let's do the numbers of how many are there actual black officers and white officers in the neighborhoods that they're patrolling.
Yeah, but you can't blame the white folks for that because a hell of a lot of... Hold on, let me say this.
I'm not blaming just the white folks.
Okay, here's the point I'm trying to make. Blacks have such an anti-cop, anti-law enforcement sentiment where we think you're a sellout or you're a snitch if you become a cop, that it's hard to find enough black officers to patrol our communities because we don't like the profession.
Well, yeah, because the trust has been breached.
True.
It's hard to get that trust back once it's breached. Trust me, my son has been called a snitch and all of that stuff by my own family members because of something like that. I said, listen, because he chose to do something with his life and you didn't choose to do anything with yours, it's not his problem.
Yeah, that's kind of backwards. I agree with you.
That's backwards.
Yeah.
Make that make sense. Like you had the same opportunities he did, but you chose to do something else.
Right.
And that has nothing to do with color.
Yeah, you for folks of color, you certainly should be in favor of people of color becoming, members of law enforcement.
Yeah, having more people like us, maybe now I have a better chance if, I see somebody that looks like me on the other side. Like, I'm not really too much worried about, I'm feared for my life because of the color of my skin, because he looks like me.
Yeah, I feel confident that if you took someone like myself, put a badge on me, and I went around rural Alabama, roughing up citizens, violating their rights, it wouldn't last long. I would get my life taken.
Right.
Yeah,
so take your ass out too.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like really, really, you're gonna have a hard way to go.
Right.
So I wanted to just say, I wanted to ask anybody on here a question, mainly Maga.
Hold on, before you ask that question, I want you to respond, because this comes up almost every time you come on. Okay. This is from a female, by the way. Judith Schneider says, this is a very angry woman. Are you living up to the stereotype of an angry black woman?
Why? Because I speak aggressively? What makes me angry? Because I speak, my voice is projected? What makes me so angry?
I don't know.
What did I say? What did I say to piss you off?
Yeah, it's probably you being direct and having projecting your voice.
Listen, I'm an internet radio host. I host shows. My voice. I have a very strong voice. I stand by my voice. That does not make me angry.
Right.
I'm one of the happiest people you'll probably ever meet.
I like that. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
No, I stand by my voice. I just have a strong voice. I was born with it.
And your voice is always welcome on the program, Ms. Mobetta. I do got to part ways with you, but as always open to you. Thank you.
Okay, I'll talk to you.
All right, girl. You do say okay with some aggression. Damn.
I do. Listen, you know what my signature is, Tim? It's absolutely. That means I have checked anything that's coming out my mouth has been checked first before I said it. So that if that makes me angry, then I'm angry as fuck.
Anything that's coming out of your mouth been checked for. Do you know what I could do with a statement like that? I gotta go.
Listen, rock with it. You just know that I got it for days. Let's go.
All right, I can do something with a statement like that too. Gotta go. All right. Oh my God, bless your heart. They say that down in the South. Bless your heart. All right, look into the comments. By the way, folks, thank you for tapping the screen. 150,000. I haven't solicited that for a minute. Go ahead and get the likes up over 150,000. Make your boy real happy on this Thursday evening. Looking in the comments, angry and ignorant, says OG Do. You guys are awful. Wow, there's a lot of folks in the comments. She's in her masculine. Let's say bitch TV or BTCB TV. So she sounds masculine to you? No way. It is your tone, says Judith. All right. She definitely doesn't have a man. You can get all of that from the woman's voice? Wow, you guys are, man. I need to get some sisters on the program more. Really? Damn. More of those voices are needed. There you go. There's a pro Miss Mobetta comment. Wow, you guys are. Oh, here's an interesting one. I can't believe how many comments I got on that caller. On my YouTube side. My YouTube side's mostly MAGA. Fair enough. But yeah, I got a lot of comments on her. She talks like Trump. And I see Tammy said, just being black. Sometimes that's all that's necessary, some would say. Stop screaming then, Melissa. Wow, you guys are one caller. Got all those damn comments. Oh, my Lord. By the way, thank you folks for tapping the screen. Get the likes up to 150,000. If you do enjoy civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, you know what I have to say. Give my spiel on the program. We're here Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central, 1,300 hours, weekdays. Civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host trying to block, ban, or even sway your opinion to some degree. Feel free to follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. We are MAGA friendly. Always have been, always will be. Liberals are welcome on the program as well. This guy supporting Donald Trump, and Donald hates this color. Maybe he thinks he is the same color as Donald Trump. That came from Mark Parker in the comments. By the way, Mark, typing the same comment over and over again. I don't have any moderators. We don't try to block, ban, or censor. But when you type it over and over again like that, you're preventing other folks from getting their points across, and I will have to block you if you keep doing that. But the idea that Mark states this guy is supporting Donald Trump and Donald Trump hates this color, maybe he thinks he is the same color as Donald Trump, shows you are a first-time viewer. Simple as that. You saw a black man, you saw a red hat, and you started typing. You are a first-time viewer. I'd invite you to sit and listen to the program. If you're on the TikTok side of the aisle, I'll even bring you up without hesitation, let you speak your point, and we can have some dialogue. But you certainly are a first-time viewer to state that. Looking in the comments, and I see that guy said, that's definitely not civil. Yeah, some of my viewers are not civil, but I do believe in letting the people speak. It is what it is. MAGA started when we elected a black president. Says, I can't see, what is this? It's downtown. I don't agree with that. MAGA didn't start with President Obama. As I pointed out before, well, you know, I don't totally, well, yes, there certainly it energized the hell out of MAGA. But at the time, it was referred to as the Tea Party. So I guess, to some degree, you didn't hear much about the Tea Party until Obama came around. But I will say, there were folks that are in line with the Tea Party, now MAGA, that were believing that they were being disenfranchised even back then. But it got significantly stronger when Obama was elected. That is true. Which is why I often push back when folks say, well, it's the Democratic Party that are the racists, that are the party of the KKK, that are the party of the slavery and all of this stuff. And it's the Republicans that love everybody. But the Democrats are racist. And then at the same time, they'll say, well, you know who's running the party? Who has the puppet strings on Biden? It's Obama, the black dude, literally leading the racist party. And that makes sense to people. Either the Democratic Party is racist and it's the party of slavery, or it's the party that is being controlled by a black guy. It can't be both. I mean, it literally can't be both. That doesn't make any damn sense at all. It's party of slavery. We'll have them voting. We'll have Negroes voting this way, voting Democrat for, 50 years, I think Lyndon B. Johnson or something said. But then at the same time, you're saying, at the top of the pyramid, it's Obama, a black dude, controlling the racist party. All right. Looking in the comments, somebody said two things can be true at the same time. Right. What are you going to tell me next? That Obama is the leader of the Klan? What is he like? For you folks who may remember the, what was the guy? Dave Chappelle had the show on Comedy Central. What is it? Clayton Bigsby, where he was a black man that was blind and was a Klan member, never knew he was born black. He's walking around saying all kinds of anti-black stuff, the N-word and all of that, because he don't know he's a black man. And because he's wearing a Klan outfit with a hood on, the whole group don't know he's black either. And he's saying everything that fits, so everybody's cool. Rose to the top of the ranks and all of that, as a black man. Is that what you're saying Obama is? Is it Clayton Bigsby? Austin Adams only afford 2 monthly white privilege didn't kick in. Only afford 2, I don't understand that. Only afford, I hear the part about white privilege didn't kick in. Oh, I get what you're saying. I thank you, Austin Adams. Austin Adams made a $2 super chat donation on YouTube, and I always appreciate my supporters. This is kind of funny. He said he could only afford to give me $2 because his white privilege did not kick in. I love it, and I love the support. But I will tell you, White privilege ain't got nothing to do with money. People always say, look, I don't have white privilege. I grew up poor. I grew up in a trailer, or I grew up homeless, or what. White privilege has nothing to do with money. I always give the same story. For you folks who are familiar with the program, you probably know what I'm about to say. You could be homeless as a white person, rummaging through the garbage during the day, looking for something to eat, sleeping in the gangway of a closed business at night. You're doing that on your side of the street as a white person. The black person is doing the same damn thing. He's homeless as well, rummaging through the garbage during the daytime for something to eat, and sleeping in the gangway of a business at night. This is what both the white guys on one side doing it, the black guy on the other side doing it. In the morning, the white guy wakes up and he notices the black guy that he normally talks to is gone. And maybe one of the business owners says that, they called the police on him for loitering and he took him to jail. And the police looked over and saw me sleeping and didn't do nothing. Or when he goes looking through the garbage, the shop owners always call the police, where they may come out and actually give the white dude some leftover food. Now, these people don't have any money at all, so money is not part of the discussion. Neither one of them have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. But clearly somebody has privilege. Somebody is being treated better than the other guy. It's a fictional story, damn it. It's not a real story. So for you, it didn't happen. No, it's fictional. But it could happen. That is privilege. Got nothing to do with money. Maybe you driving through a neighborhood in a piece of shit Ford and you're allowed to pass. And a guy who has maybe 10 times your income, every time he drives through the neighborhood, he gets pulled over. Nothing to do with money. You can have privilege whether you're broke, wealthy, or otherwise. And by the way, when it comes to the black community, for instance, doesn't matter if he's dirt poor, nowhere to live, or a rocket scientist, highly educated with a bunch of money in the bank. I think most groups of African Americans believe privilege exists. Doesn't matter what background they are. Like I said, high school dropout up to a damn rocket scientist, completely homeless up to a guy who owns multiple properties. Most blacks do believe it exists. Now, a lot of whites don't. We can talk about that, but that's just the way it is. Look at it in the comments, though. So if Trump chooses Tim Scott as VP, will that shut down the racist claims? No, it won't. I get your point, but no, it won't. Just like how many folks are calling the Democratic Party racist, and they elected a black president. So if it didn't work there, why would it work on the other side? It's not stopping you folks from calling the Democratic Party racist. So why would you expect it to work in favor of Tim Scott? By the way, even during slavery, there were plenty of blacks that were being treated nice. I mean, every slave owner wasn't, as abusive as others. I mean, one guy doing very well doesn't mean it's not happening, if you want to look at it that way. And somebody on YouTube, Emmett Lovely said, hell no, Tim Scott is not even black. All right. I love debates. Prove me wrong. Then I have learned something. Sydney, I like that. I live by the same mantra. I get proven wrong by MAGA, independents, progressives, and Democrats all the time. By the way, I do appreciate the 150,000 plus likes. Wow. Thank you, folks. Certainly on YouTube. Guys gonna get me on YouTube right over 200. We're really close. Smash that like button on YouTube. Make your boy happy before we end the program. 1 p.m. Central, 1300 hours, Monday through Friday is when you'll find us. So if you enjoy civilized dialogue on both sides of the aisle, follow the program on TikTok, a subscription on YouTube, if you will. And until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Same on YouTube. I didn't quite get to 200 on YouTube, but I do appreciate you folks that did tap. Oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you on YouTube. I love you folks all. I will catch you guys tomorrow at 1 p.m. Central. Bring your opinions. Who gives a damn what you think? Your boy will be here to talk to you. Catch you later.